because what we saw was when you stand for things, people respond. And they redrew that district in Tennessee. They redrew it specifically to make it an even safer seat. And what happened? They lost 8% of the vote. That it should tell you a lot, because what that meant was a district that is over gerrymandered to protect the Republicans in that district. People either turnout was a little on the low side for same day, but people showed up, which means you peeled off moderates. You peeled off some Republican voters. You got a lot of independents. That's a bad sign for Republicans, a really bad sign. Going into the election, the Kalshi prediction market had it like 98%. The Republican was going to maintain the seat. Okay, so that's the math. So I share that with you because I feel like we are in a really good space. If we just remember what it is that we're fighting for, like we're fighting to defend people's rights. We're fighting to defend decency. We're fighting to protect health care, for women's rights to their body, for recognition of marginalized communities. These are the things that we're fighting for. We stand for things. We use our voices. We use our talents. We use our skills. We use whatever the do something spirit that you have in you. We use those things. And that's powerful. And that's what the Republicans are so scared of. That's why they spent 5 times more money in a gerrymandered district that Donald Trump won by 22 points in 2024. They spent 5 times more money to hold on to that seat. That tells you everything you need to know. Now, the likelihood that was going to flip last night, it means the chances were slim and none. We know that. But people showed up. People showed up. They really did. And I'm impressed. So thank you all for doing something. I really appreciate you. I just want to check something real quick, see if I can. Hold on. Can you guys hear the music? Is that yes? Yes? Okay. Good, I fixed it. Yay. Okay. So with that being said, we still have to cover the situation with the schmug boats in the Caribbean, because there's a lot to cover there. I want to play some sound briefly because this speaks to what I was talking about, just talking about. Mike Johnson is being asked a question about the horrible thing that Donald Trump said on Truth Social just a while back when he used the R slur, referencing Tim Walz, right? And people who are hardcore MAGA, people that call themselves Christians, children, people who might even have special needs kids, didn't care. Just didn't care. I think I showed you guys this yesterday, but I had some just not a very nice person message me, and I said, you think the R slur is fine? R slur, are you 3? I said, say a tough guy, and then he said the word offends you, and I said, yeah, there it is, and then he says it's a medical term, bud. It's kind of what I'm talking about. When you have people that have that much hatred in your heart towards others, it's disturbing to us because we see it. A lot of them just don't care, right? They just don't care. This is Mike Johnson being asked the question, and you're going to hear. Well, I'll describe it after you hear it.
President Trump calling Governor Walz retarded.
Well, did you hear that? It's laughter from the members of the Republican leadership team. Laughter. Okay, here we are once again.
Calling Governor Walz retarded.
Well, look, that's not the word that I would choose. I think his reaction was probably a spontaneous one to the enormous amount of fraud that was announced there. We're thinking it may be, could be $2 billion.
Mm-hmm. In post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
You don't think that?
You have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him.
So it's kind of my point, right? It's just kind of my point. There are people that are in our country, tens of millions of people who, in my opinion, are just disgusting filth. not caring about humanitarian aid, not caring about, just humanity, respect for prisoners of war, respect for survivors. And then people in the chat this morning laughing, using the T slur, using the F slur, all day, every single day, all day, every day, which is why we work really hard to remind people what's at stake. We don't have to settle for this. First of all, we got to stop normalizing the hate. Like that needs to be addressed. We have got to stop normalizing it. It's simply not okay, right? And I know you guys know that because you're the smartest, one of the most compassionate groups of people I've ever met. We know that. We understand that. But people who will just double down on their hatred, and then elected members, leadership in the Republican House, when that reporter asked that question, they're laughing. Okay? They're laughing. And I don't know how we flip the script other than we need to lean in extra hard. Okay? So I think there's a problem. Is there still a problem with gifts? It doesn't look like it. Hang on one second. Here we go. There. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna discuss that this morning. We're gonna get back into the War Powers Act because I didn't discuss that yesterday. Because no matter how you slice and dice this, what Pete Hegseth did is either a war crime or schmurder or both. And how they're trying to spin this thing proves that what he did was against the law. We've got some sound from a few years ago that I'm sure he doesn't want to go public, but the internet is forever. So yeah. All right, let me just check in over here real quick. Make sure everything's up and working. Yes, we're good. Okay. Just as a reminder too, Facts HQ, you can find the Facts merch store. Our Christmas collection is up. You'll find that in the HQ. It's either factsstillmatter.site or Facts HQ. You can find the link to the link tree that's in my bio. Thank you all. Again, we're crowdfunded, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, if you want to support the channel. It's all at Factsstillmatter. Thank you guys very much. Okay, so let's dive in. So as we discussed yesterday, the story, and we're going to cover the press conference because that was fucking wild. I mean, that was so wild. As we discussed yesterday, the stories have changed significantly from the administration. I kind of gave you the timeline. So on the 29th, which was Saturday, there was a report that Pete Hegseth denies he gave the order to kill everybody on the alleged narco boat. So that was on the 29th. All right. Then on the 1st, there was a flurry of activity. On the 1st, so 2 days later, the White House confirmed that Hegseth authorized the second strike on the drug boat. Also, that was at 2:21. 6 hours later, also reported, Hegseth stands by American hero admiral who issued second boat strike order. So just in 48 hours time, the story went from, I didn't do it, to the White House says, oh, yeah, you did it. Well, we stand by you. And then Hegseth, because the White House said that, had to find somebody to blame. So that's kind of where it sits now, right? The blame game has been ramped up. There's reporting from an army. I saw this and I thought this is really synonymous to exactly what we're talking about. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth called Admiral Alvin Halsey, it's H-O-L-S-E-Y, Admiral Halsey. Called him to the carpet to address the admiral's refusal to carry out random fishing boat attacks in the Caribbean. Okay? Admiral Halsey expressed his concern for civilian casualties. Secretary Hegseth pushed back and reminded the admiral of his sworn duty. Admiral Halsey informed Hegseth that he had no intention of carrying out an illegal order after 40 years of service in the U.S. Navy. In response to the admiral's stance, Hegseth threatened to strip Halsey of his command. The meeting became heated and quickly adjourned. Less than 15 minutes later, SecDef Pete Hegseth received Admiral Alvin Halsey's letter of resignation. In recent days, members of Congress have reached out to Admiral Halsey, requesting him to testify on the events surrounding his resignation. Admiral Halsey has agreed. Admiral Halsey has the receipts. So this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Of course, Sam, because that's who you are. Thank you for proving my point. This Sam, not our Sam. Thank you for proving my point. Right? See, that's what I'm talking about. You think that's a flex. You're proving my. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam Hyde, for proving my point this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate that. So this is why voting's important, right? This is why having control of the House and or Senate is important. These are the things that matter, because this person, Admiral Halsey, a highly decorated naval veteran, and by the way, Admiral Halsey's a black man. You can just add that to the intrigue. About he's being stripped of his command. We'll discuss that. He's got the receipts, and he's prepared to testify. And the question then becomes, will Republicans in the House invite him in to testify? And it seems like there is more and more and more interest in doing things like that, because you've got the Armed Services Committee in the Senate, bipartisan, led by Republican Roger Wicker. And then you've got the Armed Services Committee in the House, also led by Republican. Both of them have said, we need to investigate this. Mr. Hegseth knows he's in trouble. So 232 people are peeking in, break the ice to start interacting. I don't even know what that means, but hi, are you watching me? I'm not going to go there. Anywho, so I think it's really, really interesting that we've got all this bipartisan pushback, and we're going to hear some sound from Rand Paul this morning too, because be careful how I say this. Rand Paul is as close to a true libertarian as you'll see in Congress, right? And he's a senator from Kentucky, as you know. He's an interesting character, because there's some things that he speaks about that I absolutely 100% agree with. He talks about insider trading, and he talks about how we're doing too much to defend corporations and giving them too much. He doesn't go far enough on certain things. He obviously doesn't advocate for the rights of the LGBTQI community. He doesn't stand 10 toes down in support of women's rights to their bodies. But there's lots of things that he says that I agree with, right? And here he is he's being kicked out of the club, so to speak, because he's not agreeing with the administration. He's been called all kinds of names, the Republican, from the president. Now, if you're in whatever walk of life you're in, if you're in the media, or if you're in the judicial system, or if you're an elected member of Congress and Trump insults you, that's a good thing. That's kind of what you want. That's a really good thing. That's exactly what you want. You want people like that. You want people who are on the receiving end of his bullshit, because then you're getting to him. And boy, are people getting to him. So let's play some sound from Rand Paul, because I just think I like the way that he's just addressing things sort of full on, full-throated, because he's like, I got nothing to lose here. This is ridiculous. We have to call this shit out. If somebody doesn't, I will. And he's always been one that's been pretty honest about how he feels about this administration. And I like to see it, quite frankly. So if I gotta find that sound. Everything is reset here on my end, so it might just take me a minute to pull some stuff up, but I'll get through it here. Hang on one second. And then we're gonna get into the madness that was that presser yesterday, or I should say that cabinet meeting, because that shit was wild. So here's the first sound I want to play for you from Rand Paul. And then we'll play a little bit more, because he talks about this in two different terms. He talks about the time frame that I just gave you guys about where is the lie coming from, and then he talks about how this entire thing he considers an act of war. Hang on one sec. Here we go. Well, that's not it either. Sorry, I thought I had it. All right, here we go.
I say it.
Oops, sorry. Don't want to hear from him yet. Here we are. My apologies.
Secretary Hegseth said he had no knowledge of this and it did not happen. It was fake news. It didn't happen. And then the next day from the podium of the White House, they're saying it did happen. So either he was lying to us on Sunday or he's incompetent and didn't know it had happened. Do we think there's any chance that on Sunday the Secretary of the Defense did not know there had been a second strike? So as a country, are we just going to let people lie to us to our face?
Boom.
We're going to let them kill people who they call enemies anytime in the world. We're going to let them, like when someone is stranded and holding on to the scraps of a boat, put a second bomb on them. I think it's outrageous and should be universally condemned.
It's kind of the point, right? He's right. One day he comes out and said, it's fake news. Didn't happen. Then it was like, oh shit, we're caught here. We can't continue to say that because we know this exists, right? So the problem that Pete finds himself in is he wants to flex. He wants to be this tough guy. He wants suffering. He wants people to bleed. He wants people to die. That's why he said, kill them all, right? I'm struggling? How am I struggling? Okay, cool. Yeah, anyway, that's what that's what Pete wants. So he's trying to have this tough guy bravado because he's arguably one of the weakest people I've ever seen. He is fucking pathetic. And it tells you a lot because we've seen a lot of the weak-ass beta MAGA men in here this morning saying, I love Pete. Of course you do. Because he's your mediocre icon. You aspire to be that mediocre? That tells a lot about you. Okay. Better than Biden. Oh, yeah. He's better than Biden. Yep. Cool. Is this a take, my guy? Bro. Biden wasn't the defense secretary. Better than Biden. Okay. So more from Rand Paul. I like the way that he addresses things that were the questions that we're all asking. So he's being asked a question again about these strikes in general, and great answer.
Evidence that there were survivors on these boats, on this particular boat. Have you seen any evidence that there were survivors? What intelligence have you seen?
I've been offered no briefings, and I think that's purposeful because I've been skeptical of this. So no briefings have been offered to me. We are asking for them. We are supportive of the Armed Services Committee looking into this, but this has been very selective in briefings that have been given to people, primarily given to people who are already apologists for the administration.
And do you have confidence in the Defense Secretary at this point?
I'm very, very concerned about an order that would say kill them all, kill them, after they've already been wounded, after they're drifting apart. But for some people, this is distinctly different, the second strike. I think both strikes are actually illegal. I don't think you can just name people and say, well, they've got drugs. Well, where's the proof? That's an allegation. And these people are 2,000 miles away. People don't realize these outboard boats have no capability of reaching America. It take them like 20 stops to refuel to get up here. In all likelihood, none of these boats are coming to America. It's a completely made up and false sense that we're at war, we can do whatever we want, but if Congress wants to vote on it, no, we're not at war. So they're at war if they can do whatever they want with no oversight. But if Congress were to get involved with us, it was not a real war. It's just a war where we name people who we don't like, we call them terrorists, and then we kill them, and then if we see them floating around in the ocean, we then re-bomb them. It's a crazy system.
He's right, isn't he? He's right. Just want answers, right? If you're so 10 toes down in support of it, and are you gonna be on the side of history that you enjoy violating international law? Are you going to be on the side of history where you celebrate, people suffering under a lie, under a flat out fucking lie? Got the letter that the Honduran president wrote to Mr. Trump regarding his pardon. What I find really funny is the right is fucking scrambling now to try to claim that, well, the war on drugs, even though those drug boats were thousands of miles away and we're not those drug boats were thousands of miles away and we're not going to make it to the United States because they'd have to be refueled numerous times. But our friends on the right, people like Bad Company, aren't the brightest bulbs in the tree. They can't do math, and it would be impossible for those to make it to the shores of the U.S. But they're fine with unaliving people who we don't even know who they are. Civilians, non-enemy combatants, according to the Geneva Convention, they can't be touched. So now they're trying to defend why the president pardoned a drug kingpin. Even, Fox News has even referred to him as that. And their answer is, there must be a reason. Trump is playing 4D chess. It's to get intelligence. What they don't understand is how pitiful that argument is, but whatever. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. So here's bitch boy Mike Johnson on his briefing. He's unwilling to challenge the administration. We know that. I'm starting to think that there's some dirt on Mike. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm starting to think there's some dirt on Mike. only because of the things that he says and when he says them and how he says them. So just my opinion alone. Here's Mike Johnson.
The administration has acknowledged that there was a second strike in that attack in September, but they have not said if there were any defenseless survivors. Should they release the video to Congress, the unedited video to Congress and to the American public? And two, if the defenseless survivors were killed, would that constitute a violation of the laws of war?
I'm not going to prejudge any of that. As you know, both of the Armed Services Committee and the Senate and the House will be having hearings on this to review, and that's their role.
Real quick, Julian, Steve, do you think you could go a full 24 hours without whining about Trump? Absolutely. Julian, could you go 5 minutes without being a cuck for the administration? I'd be willing to bet that I would win. But thanks for playing. You have a good day.
I have been listening. Again, I was pretty busy yesterday. Didn't follow a lot of the news, but I caught up a little bit early this morning. That my assessment of this, my understanding is that most of the people that have looked at this, at least in a preliminary review, say that the admiral who ordered the second strike thought it was necessary to complete the mission. He's a highly decorated, highly respected admiral in the Navy, and he made that call.
Did you catch that? Highly respected admiral in the Navy. That person, that highly respected admiral in the Navy, is who the administration is attempting to blame. That's what they're doing now. They're trying to, again, think about the story that changed. Pete Hegseth initially said it was fake news all weekend long. It was fake news. Then they realized that was not working. So they said, okay, then yes, I gave the order. Hegseth's like, I'm not gonna take the fall for this. President says, well, I trust Pete. Pete's, I'm not gonna take the fall for this. They blame each other. Then they're like, oh shit, we got to stop blaming each other because ultimately this does fall on us. So let's find somebody else to blame. Let's see, do we have a black admiral? Cool, we're gonna blame Admiral Halsey. Sweet. Everybody good? Yep, break. And Admiral Halsey's got the receipts. I'm not wrong about that. You guys know that it's exactly what's happening. Here's Mike again.
And so, we're going to have to look at that. I'm sure Congress has a right to look at it. I don't know how much of the tape should be released because I'm not sure how much is sensitive with regard to national security and all that. I haven't had a chance to review it, so I'm not going to prejudge it. But I will say that, it's not an unprecedented thing. One of the things I was reminded of this morning is that under Barack Obama, President Obama.
Here we go. We're going to blame Barack Obama. Here we go.
He had, I think, over 550 drone strikes on people who were targeted as enemies of the country, and nobody ever questioned it. Okay,
right.
And secondary strikes are not unusual. It has to happen if a mission is going to be completed. So I haven't reviewed the scope of the mission. I haven't reviewed that particular strike. I don't know what went into the admiral's decision matrix, but it's something that Congress will look at, and we'll do that in the regular process and order. I think it's very important for everybody to reserve judgment and not leap to conclusions until you have all the facts, and that's what we'll be uncovering.
Mike, didn't you just do that? You just jumped to conclusions, didn't you, Mike? Bitch boy, listen, that's a bad look. We talked about this last night when you wanted to cuddle. And I'm like, if your lies are getting really desperate, you might want to change your game up a little bit. The right likes to use the situation, the Captain Phillips story, right? By the way, Captain Phillips lived in Vermont at the time. They want to use that story. They say, well, this is what happened. You guys weren't complaining about that. What they failed to remember is that pirates held Captain Phillips prisoner. Okay, an American citizen was being held prisoner. That justifies military intervention according to international law. That's what they forget about. Now, if you want to investigate drone strikes, absolutely, sign me the fuck up. I have no problem doing that at all because we can be objective. Exactly. I'm the captain now. Exactly right. I can be objective. But what the right doesn't want to do is have anything look bad to them while they're defending their hatred and racism. But that's a different story. Nothing to see here, though, right? Nothing to see here. Good morning, Annie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just real quick, I cannot be the only one that remembers when the first strike hit that they said that there were 2 survivors and they gave them back to their country of origin for prosecution. And nobody's talking about this.
Correct.
So did these 2 survivors not go back to their country, or did they get blown up in the water?
Well, again, that's a different incident. Well, that's a different incident altogether. That's a different one.
Oh, okay.
So
I was making sure I wasn't crazy.
No, you're right. There's a couple. Actually, I'm going to talk about that this morning. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in today.
Can you drop me? I don't know how to do it.
I got you. Thanks a lot. Initially there were two survivors from one of these attacks. They got sent back to their country. So 4 things could potentially happen in that case. We could rescue them according to international law and the Geneva Convention, right? We could rescue them. We could take them to our shores and prosecute them, right? Or investigate, try them criminally because of penalty for trafficking, identify, due process. Or you send them back to their country. Their country then has a determination to investigate and or not prosecute. Why didn't that happen? Yeah, we're sure about that. Why didn't that happen in this case? Because we're gonna go through the timeline here. So again, the story started with Keg's Breath saying fake news. That's how it started. Rand Paul calls him out on that. Everybody's called him out on that. The administration desperate, trying to defend. Within days, the story changes because the White House doesn't want the blood on their hands, literally. They say they directed Pete Keg's Breath to do it. Keg's Breath then said, oh, well, shit, I can't take the blame for this. I've got to find somebody else to blame. So again, if it's such an alpha group of leaders, none of them is willing to take responsibility. I thought they were about tough guys, right? I thought they were really about strong, armed, we're not breaking any laws here. We're following the Constitution, blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem, Pete. When you have a history of saying things that contradict your current message, it's not a good look for you. About 8 years ago, as Pete was, in the midst of his transition from, serving his country to the mess that he finds himself in now. This is back to 2016, okay? I'll play the sound for you. You may or may not have heard this yet, but I think this is indicative of the problem, of the situation he finds himself in now. It's not a good look. Hold on. Boy, things are working really slowly today. It's cold outside, so things move slower, right? As we know. Negative. We got, by the way, we got like 12 inches. Hang on. Okay, here we go. So this is back in 2016, okay? He's giving a speech before, I'm not exactly sure where he's giving this speech, but just listen to his words. This is 2016 Pete Hegseth.
Guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
Well, interesting. Can you say that again, Pete?
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes.
Interesting.
If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
Yeah, he does love the word ethos. So how about that? So Pete, would you care to address that? So you are making comments 2016, right? That was during the Obama administration, alluding to the fact that, uniformed officers should not follow unlawful orders, references the fact that if they do, they'll end up in Leavenworth, right? So now when it's clear that unlawful orders were given, there's no denying it, you're at the helm. No wonder you don't want to be involved. No wonder you don't want to be connected to that. So what I would like to do, what I would love to be able to do, is to be able to have that clip. So again, as a desire, I talked about this yesterday about how I'm concerned about the future of the press just because of how our administration has created this model where you can't trust it. So a lot of Americans don't know what to do. Again, shout out to independent journalists everywhere. I'd love to be able to present him that when I'm questioning him. So when he gets questioned, when he gets dragged before the Armed Services Committee in the Senate or in the House, I want somebody to play that sound. So explain to us this, because you obviously care a lot about war crimes, and you want to encourage uniformed military to not follow unlawful orders. So then explain this. What's changed in 10 years? What's changed? Michael, why are you so mediocre? I'm not asking people to trust me. In fact, I talk about that all the time. I'm going to share information. I'm going to offer my opinion. I'm going to editorialize. I'm also going to offer facts. If you don't believe me, then research it yourself, Michael. Michael, I'm not the one that believes the word coming from this guy's mouth. That would be you. That's a problem. You might want to have your TDS checked, my guy. Appreciate you. So that's what I would like to see for Mike, for Pete, I should say. I'd like to have questions answered in response to the things that he said in the past, because that is entirely different than what he's saying now. These are not all unlawful. These are not against the law. Well. I guess we'll see, right? I guess we'll see. So we'll stick that one in the archives. We'll hang on to that sound when that time comes. Okay, let's get into some of the things that happened during that Glaze Fest yesterday, because I've seen some shit before that I don't even recognize when it comes to how people talk about the level of criminality and corruption in our current government, but yet nothing to see here. Rant Man, how are you today?
Great work as usual, my friend. I just literally woke up to your voice. That may sound a little misleading to some people.
No, that's totally fine. I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you. I just
want to say this, because you're hitting on something that I spoke about in a little video the other day, and I think even it's fake news. These really weak rebuttals, which are kind of like sixth grade rebuttals that you hear on the playground when a kid doesn't like what another kid says. I think these may be resonating with the American MAGA voters because of the latest affordability rejection. Like that one may stick. That one may stick. Oh, yeah. And it will stick. It will stick. Yeah, you know why? Because specifically, that's where the Biden administration failed. Because they kept saying, inflation. The inflation rate was coming down, the stock market was going up, and they used that as messaging to the American public, while the American public was looking at their grocery bill, saying, "Well, that's not true." So the Trump administration has done the same thing, only worse, and we're seeing it in the polling. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. The messaging could not have been worse, and it was a mistake of trying to being a professor and talking high economic concepts when people were starting to feel. You're right. And the irony is that the 9.1% inflation number that Biden inherited, he took down to under 3% when he left office. So this idea. Yeah, again, go ahead. Let's be careful. The president, unlike this tariff messaging, well, we know the tariffs have directly caused inflation. President doesn't have a lot of things that they can do when it comes to the inflation rate. Now, there are things that happened as our country recovered. Right. But I just want to make sure that we're being you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's almost like the same argument when presidents try to take, especially this president, they try to take credit for the stock market. It's the same kind of argument. They don't really affect the growth in the stock market. I mean, there's certain things that affect the stock market that go hand in hand with the economy. But one last thing, the other thing that people don't, these voters, these cult members, they don't follow the metric. So Biden had an average of 186,000 new jobs created his last year in office. Trump's 80,000. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Trump's
Keep up the
Trump's
great
only
work,
president.
Mike. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, friend. Thanks,
right.
man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Yeah, I mean, Trump has a net loss. I mean, we. Yeah, honored to be in your awesomeness. You're so rich. The best tweets ever. This is basically the cabinet meeting. So there you go. Okay, I've got somebody else that's requested. I'll invite them up, and then we'll get into our topics of the day. Okay, cool, Michael. So, Michael, I'm just curious why it is that you chirp like you do.
Okay, because all you Democrats, all you want to be TikTok hosts, all you do is talk about Trump. If you want to talk about the news, you talk about the whole news. Like the congresswoman in Florida using the FEMA money for personal use. Like Tim Walz, $6 billion going to Somalia. You don't want to talk about that.
Michael,
what
is this?
You know I'm
is
right.
Is this a political live?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so how could I?
24/7. Trump
excuse me,
rent free.
Michael. Excuse me. If it's a political live, should I not talk about the president?
I'm talking something political. You got congressmen, you got a governor stealing money from taxpayers.
That's not been proven.
That's political. Yes or no?
Has that been proven?
Yes, it has been proven, dumbass.
Has it?
Waltz is all over.
How has it been proven?
Talking about it.
Oh, it's all over TV talking about it. God, has it been?
News, you might learn something.
So, Michael. So why do you
come around to the Democrats? Michael,
are you okay with the president calling Tim Walz the R slur?
Yeah, look what Tim Walz says about him.
Of course you are. You see, that's kind of my point. That's sort of my point, right? That's exactly my point, Michael. You're okay with the president of the United States calling an American citizen, or anybody for that matter, the R slur. That tells you who you are, Michael. That's not reflective on me. That's reflective on you. Okay? And I do find it interesting that you're focused on a story that is a non-story that is being spread like fucking wildfire on right-wing spaces in an attempt to distract people like you, Michael, because they don't. What side are you on?
I would be labeled as a common man.
What's a common man, Dennis?
Somebody that isn't into politics, somebody that has my family into it to make money.
So you
anything
don't
to
vote?
do with our. No.
Have you ever voted?
Why vote? Vote's rigged.
Have you ever
Why
voted?
vote?
Have you ever voted? You've never voted?
No.
Then get the fuck out of here. Okay, thanks. Appreciate you. All right. Legend, I think I like that one better. Gregory, Legend. That's why we call him Legend, because he does this shit. That's better. That one I like a lot. Let me put this right there. Okay. All right. Let me do this. Okay. Texas Peaches, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, actually, I cannot believe, I just don't believe how some people are so blinded by what this administration is doing. I just cannot believe it. I just cannot believe it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Anything else that you'd like to add to that?
Well, I just want to know when everybody's going to wake up and see what really is going on. That's what I want to know. When are we going to really wake up?
I agree. Well, that's what we talk about. That's why we talk about it here. But I appreciate you jumping in today. Thanks a lot for being here.
All right, bye.
All right, bye. Okay. Let me see here. Hang on 1 second. Okay, I'm good. All right, so let's get into this Glaze Fest, right? Let's get into this Glaze Fest. So there's a couple of ways that I want to look at this kind of thing, right? I want to talk about it in terms of, first of all, the things that Trump has said. I don't want to lose focus on Keg's breath, because he's in a lot of trouble. So let's listen to some of the things that he said first. So this is the first bit of sound that I'll play for you. And Pete gets a seat right next to the president, right? So literally Pete sits next to the president every time they have a cabinet meeting. So this is the first bit of sound.
Begun striking narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves and allowed them to come across the border. Cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs, we're striking the boats, we're defeating narco terrorists, and we're standing...
And Pete, you may say one thing, that drugs coming in through the sea by sea are down 91%.
The drugs coming into the sea by sea. Okay.
And I don't know who the 9% is.
I'm not sure either, sir.
But down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now. Which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations. This is meant to get after that approach. And I will just end by saying, as President Trump always has our back, we always have the back of our commanders.
Do you?
Who are making decisions in difficult situations, and we do in this case.
Really? That's interesting that you say that, Pete, because we already know that Admiral Halsey has the receipts on something you tried to say. So does that really? So you threatened to take away his command? You have their back? Really? Okay, Pete.
All these strikes, they're making judgment calls and ensuring that they defend the American people. They've done the right things. We'll keep doing that, and we have their backs, Mr. President.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Good job, Pete. Next. Sorry, that was a bit graphic. Okay, here's Pete again. This is part of the lie that Pete has been telling, and they're trying. It's been fascinating because I've been watching this, right? Because good boy, Pete, good boy, Mr. President. I can't find it. Just move the shit aside. Sorry, that's gross. All right, here's this part is fucking wild. Okay.
As you would, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that, a lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do, and by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike? You personally?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded in fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital.
So then why did you hit it again, Pete?
This is called the fog of war.
Oh.
This is what you in the press don't understand.
Right.
You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up.
So your air-conditioned office that's next to your makeup room before you go appear on camera? Got it.
On Capitol Hill, and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything.
Right.
Not based in any truth at all.
Right.
And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes.
Right.
About the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic.
Right.
Because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters.
His story has changed so many times. Initially, it was fake news. Now that there's an acknowledgement that there was a second strike. Initially, he said he didn't order it. Now he's kind of taking credit for it because he wants to be seen as the tough guy. The White House says, we take Pete's word for it. We stand by what Pete said. Pete said, I didn't give the order. I gave it to somebody else. He has the authority. Which is the fucking truth? You know what I think? Strictly my opinion. Because Pete Hegseth is a Christian nationalist fucking racist and is bloodthirsty, he absolutely fucking ordered it. He absolutely said, unalive them all. Unalive them all. And the people who carried it out are now going to be subjected to war crimes. I don't see how you can, I don't know how there's another answer. Because if you fully support your admiral's decisions, then it's one of two things. Either you are a horrible commander because you did not give them any guidance, or you are throwing them under the bus because you, in fact, did give them that order. I guarantee you he told them to kill them all. I guarantee it. There's no other way you can spin it. There's no other way. There's absolutely no other way that you can spin it. And there are people in our country who don't give a fuck because they're just as racist as he is. And they're celebrating suffering. I played this sound yesterday from Megyn Kelly. I want them to suffer. I want them to bleed. I want them to learn their lesson. And don't forget, there's people in this space who don't give a fuck about the Geneva Convention. This is where we are, friends. Okay, this is where we are. People in his community, in the Pete Hegseth fanboy club, right, are cheering this shit on. They're cheering it on. They're celebrating it. They're celebrating people getting vaporized. People hanging. Again, he said he didn't see survivors. Again, acknowledging, though, that there were because of the fog of war. Okay, Pete. Good to know. Appreciate that. Glad to see you're so engaged on doing your fucking job. I found this sound. This person's name is, he's a former UCMJ attorney. Thank you to our mod team. I think, Justin, you sent me this. Thank you very much. I want to play this sound because I think this kind of encapsulates just about everything that we're talking about here from the criminality side of things. So this gentleman is I'll let him tell you his credentials, but he's a former UCMJ attorney. So I'd like to think that he kind of knows this shit. So here we go. Hang on one second.
Some days it's a little controversial too, but
no,
it's been.
I don't want to hear from you yet, Christy. You're going to talk about you. We're going to get into your glazing. Don't worry. Plenty of time for you to glaze, Christy. Puppy killer.
Official allegedly gave an order to kill everyone on a boat, which included survivors in the water.
Hang on one second.
You've seen the headline. A U.S. official allegedly gave an order to kill everyone on a boat, which included survivors in the water. People are asking, is this a war crime? So let's break down what the law actually says. Hey, I'm Cody Harnish, UCMJ attorney. I'm a former JAG, prior Cav Scout, and now I only practice military law. Now, if we accept the administration's assertion that we are in this non-international armed conflict with the drug cartels, then the Geneva Conventions apply. And under U.S. law, the Geneva Conventions are not optional. Under the U.S. War Crimes Act, 18 U.S.C. Section 2441, it is a federal crime to commit a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions. Specifically, Common Article 3, which says you cannot target or kill people who are hors du combat. That means people who are out of the fight, wounded, shipwrecked, detained, or even attempting to surrender. U.S. law mirrors this. Section 2441 explicitly criminalizes the murder of people not taking active part in hostilities, including those who are placed out of combat by sickness, wounds, detention, or any other cause. So even if we are to assume that targeting alleged narco boats is a lawful armed conflict, the moment survivors are wounded or shipwrecked and no longer fighting, they're hors du combat.
Correct.
They're out of the fight.
Correct.
And become protected.
Correct.
At that point, the law is black and white. You cannot apply lethal force to people who can no longer fight. If you do, it's a war crime. And that's as serious as it can get, guys. There's no creative legal theory that can make it lawful. And while troops are duty-bound to obey lawful orders and refuse unlawful ones, the officers above them, especially the Secretary of Defense, have an even more serious obligation not to pass down illegal orders. A kill everyone order that includes people who are out of the fight is manifestly unlawful. You are legally protected for refusing it, and you could be held criminally liable if you follow it. So yes, even if we pretend this is a legitimate armed conflict, killing the defenseless is still a war crime. That's what US law says. That's what the Geneva Convention says. Share this if you want people to understand the law behind the headlines. And in the meantime, I'm going to be right here defending America's defenders.
His name is Cody Harnish. He goes by UCMJ Attorney on TikTok. So what more explanation do we need? There is no way around this now. They are war crimes. They're war. I mean, somebody give me the counter to that. Because if it's war you're claiming, then you're already past the War Powers Act, because Congress then would need to issue that. You're past your 60 days. So you've lost that argument. If you want to say it's not war, then you are violating the Geneva Convention and international law. Even if it's considered war, there are still hors de combat. Enemy combatants are out of the fight. There's no way around it. This is a fucking war crime. There is no way around it. So here we go. The Law and Order Party, right? The Law and Order Party, conservatives, MAGA, you guys claim to be about law and order. So do me a favor. Whenever the topic of law and order comes up again, shut the fuck up. You don't give a shit about law and order. Whenever the topic of human rights comes up, shut the fuck up. You don't care. Whenever the topic comes up about the war on drugs, shut the fuck up, because you don't care about that either. Because all you're doing now is trying to fucking spin your way out of this with the president pardoning one of the most notorious drug kings ever. 400,000 metric tons of nose candy, aka a night out for Don Jr. You're fine with that. You are totally fine with that, because you're so pathetically fucking deep in the cult. You'll say, well, I'm sure the president's got a reason. Totally got a reason. He's playing 4D chess. He's playing 4D chess. Remember that, okay? So if the president is playing 4D chess, I should say, a 4D chess, where the hell is my head? Sorry. I'm sorry. It's cold in these parts. If that's the case, if the president is playing 4D chess, then explain to me the logic behind releasing a drug kingpin. Because I don't know what it is. I'm really, really trying to figure that out. Okay, so here's one bit of news. This is the president again. As we're stuck now. Hey, now exactly. As we're stuck in this circle of one lie on top of the next lie on top of the next lie on top of the next lie. So here's the president sitting next to his SecDef, sitting next to his assistant manager of war crimes, Pete Kegsbreath. I'm not going to refer to him as the SecDef or the SecWar. He's the assistant manager. He's the junior assistant manager in training of war crimes. That's who he is. This is Mr. Trump on this topic.
I did, I still haven't gotten a lot of information because I rely on Pete. But
so you haven't. So you are the commander in chief, fucknut. You are the commander in chief, and you've not gotten information, and you rely on Pete. Okay.
It was an attack. It wasn't 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved in it. I knew they took out a boat, but I would say this: they had a strike. I hear the gentleman that was in charge of that is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary person.
The gentleman that was in charge of that. An extraordinary person. Okay.
Pete speak about him, but Pete was satisfied. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with 2 people.
Pete didn't know about. Okay, so Pete didn't know about that either. So who the fuck knows anything?
I guess Pete would have to speak to it. I can say this: I want those boats taken out, and if we have to, we'll attack on land also, just like we attack on sea. And there's very little coming in by sea. I think we've knocked out over 90% of it. There's very little, and I understand that. There's very little. We're saving hundreds of thousands of lives with those pinpoint attacks. It's an amazing thing when you see a boat going along, and a lot of the press would like to say they're not. You see the boat, they're not maybe drugs. You see these boats. First of all, who has 5 engines on the back of a boat going in weird directions? And
lots of people have 5 engines on the back of the boat. And here's the funny thing about that, Mr. Trump, you're telling this right out loud. Those boats are not big enough to make it to the shores of the U.S. without refueling multiple times. So miss me with your bullshit.
Loaded up with lots of white containers. They're bags of things. No, they've done an amazing job, and Pete has done an amazing job. But Pete, you could probably better answer the question.
No, you're spot on, sir.
Okay. Okay. That's great to know. Really, really glad that our president, the commander-in-chief, knows so much about what's happening. I feel safe at night. I feel safe and secure. And again, remember I said I started the show with this today. There are people in our country who do not give a fuck. They are bloodthirsty too. They don't care about human rights. They don't care about human dignity. They don't care about any of it. They don't care about any of it, right? Remember how I said earlier about how the president or what the cabinet wants to say is that the president is playing 4D chess, right? 4D chess. Okay, let's talk about that. This was an interesting moment. So the president, the person who's playing 4D chess, said this about why we have inflation.
It won't get it right. Listen to this.
We're going to get prices down still further, but we brought them down from the prices they cost. The reason that they had the highest inflation and
okay, wait for it. The reason that we had the highest inflation, wait for it.
The history of our country is because they had the highest prices, but we brought them down, and now we have normal inflation.
What? I'm sorry. What? So that's the guy that's playing 4D chess. Okay, let's listen to that again, okay?
And you still won't get it right.
Okay, here we go.
Listen to this.
We're going to get prices down still further, but we brought them down from the prices they cost. The reason that they had the highest inflation in the history of our country is because they had the highest prices, but we brought them down, and now we have normal inflation.
What? What? So I've asked this question before in some of the right-wing spaces that I go to, so you don't have to remember. You're welcome. I've asked this question to so-called MAGA who claim to be economic experts, and I say, okay, if the inflation rate this month is 3.5%. And next month it goes to 3%. What happens to prices? And I shit you not, the majority of the people that I've asked that question have said prices go down. I honestly believe that's what our president thinks too. They just go up less. I tried to point the analogy to say, like if you're going up a steep hill, and this may not apply to people who live in the flatlands. We have signs all over the place. They talk about steep grade, right? And they'll say 6 or 7%, and there'll be a little sign, and there's a truck going up 6 or 7%, right? And then the sign, the further you climb, then the sign says steep grade 4%. And I asked them, does that still mean you're going uphill? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, that would be how inflation works. And they're like, no. Nuh-uh. Wait. Do I have that?
Nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh. Yeah, well, it's true. That's how it works.
Nuh-uh.
No, it is. If the inflation rate is 3% this month and it goes to 2.5% next month, it just means it's going up at a lower rate.
Nuh-uh.
No, it's true. The prices would not go down because that would be deflation.
Nuh-uh.
No, it's the truth. I'm serious. If the inflation rate this month is 3% and it goes to 2.5% next month, it doesn't mean prices go down. It just means they're going up slower.
Nuh-uh.
Okay. So that would be the person who's playing 4D chess. That would be your president, MAGA, your guy, the president, your guy. You heard the answer. Now, how are they going to spin that one? How? How are they going to possibly spin it? Because if that's 4D fucking chess, then I don't know. I don't know. MAGA, do you think Donald Trump is really smart?
Nuh-uh.
Then why the fuck do you vote for him? Do you think he's competent?
Nuh-uh.
Then why do you vote for him? He's a protector of women, right?
Nuh-uh.
Oh, then why do you vote for him? He's never committed a crime, right?
Nuh-uh.
Then why do you vote for him? How do you defend this shit? How can you possibly sit there and say that this guy's got all his fucking shit together? I mean, honestly, how the fuck can you possibly sit there after listening to that sound? The reason they had high inflation is because of high prices. Give me a fuck. And there's lots of people in our chat this morning who be like, makes perfect sense to me. Prices are high because inflation's high because prices were high. The fuck? See, here we go. See what I'm talking about? This is what I mean. I know that this is a troll, but this is my point. Still 100 times better than Biden. Still 100 times better.
Nuh-uh.
Nope. Well, 100 times in Trump's world would be like 14 times because of maths. I'm going to take a quick little detour because I thought about this the other day because it's a possibility I might be going ice fishing this weekend. For those of you who've never done it, it's awesome. There's actually a spot in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. It's called Joe's Pond. Every year they do this lottery where they put a shanty, a little shack out in the middle of the ice, right? They throw it out in the middle of the ice, and people put, you can pick a date and a time in the spring that the shanty will fall through the ice. Yes, I know that is as fucking Vermont as you can possibly get, but they raise tons of money, and they donate it to local causes, which is really, really cool. It's like a 50-50. So, that is this time of the year, now that we've got snow and the ponds are frozen. And I remember this story that was reported on a few years ago about this Republican mayor from a small town in Ohio. So I'm going to play this just briefly for you because I just think it's funny and we all need to laugh a bit in our lives. So this guy's the mayor. He ended up having to resign after this. And again, this is a Republican mayor from a small town in Ohio, and he did have to resign after this. And then you could ask yourself, why did he have to resign after what he said? Well, here you are.
If you open this up to ice fishing, while on the surface it sounds good, then what happens next year? Does someone come back and say, I want an ice shanty?
That would be logical. If you open up areas for ice fishing, then sure, okay, then people would come back and they would want an ice shanty because it's fucking cold out on the ice, right? So, okay, that makes sense. It totally tracks.
On Hudson Springs Park for X amount of time. And if you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem.
What's that?
Prostitution. And now you got the police chief and the police department involved.
What?
Just data points to consider.
What? Wait, let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. If you allow ice fishing on a park with, ponds that freeze, then opening that up to ice fishing means that people will then build a shanty so that they can stay warm while they're ice fishing. And then as soon as you let the shanties in, it's going to become the red light district and there'll be schmex workers everywhere. That totally tracks. That guy had to resign. So again, here you go.
Additionally, if you open this up to ice fishing, while on the surface it sounds good, then what happens next year? Does someone come back and say, I want an ice shanty on Hudson Springs Park for X amount of time? And if you then allow ice fishing with shanties, then that leads to another problem. Prostitution. And now you got the police chief and the police department involved.
So I'm with you, Sam.
Just data points to consider.
Just data points to consider. Listen, I mean, it could become a whole marketing, shagging in the shanty. It could become an entire campaign. What a great business model. Only shanties. Take our shanty show on the road, right? Seriously, I'm an advocate for sex work, consensual. I'm an advocate for it. Do what you do. If you feel safe, you feel protected, you feel it's something you want to do, I empower you to do it. But here, only good one, Cassidy. Only shans. Exactly. I love the fucking chat. But what? Shanty hub. Exactly. Bring all your holes inside the ice shanty. But he had to. Let's come up with a business plan. I'm with you, Sam. We'll totally come up with a business plan. Absolutely. Going to make people millions. Ice fishing is a gateway. Here we are once again, right? It's a Republican mayor from a town in Ohio. And he's concerned that if you open up ice fishing, it's going to lead to prostitution. Listen, if I go ice fishing this weekend, I'll report back. I'm just letting you know. So I thought we could have a little bit of fun with that, because if you can't laugh, then you're just going to cry. Okay, so a little bit more. I know, I'm sorry. Drill, baby, drill. Now we could say, again, my mind is racing. So would you like me, you call for your appointment. Do you need me to bring the auger? No, I've got an auger. Cool. Sweet. Do you have a wood stove in the shanty? Because I can turn up the heat. Anyway, I'll stop now. So, why are Republicans so obsessed with these kinds of things? Tony. Glory holes on ice. Oh, sorry, feedback. Oh my God. Drill, baby, drill. Yeah, exactly. It's a BOGO. You get two holes the price of one. Catfishing. No bait needed. Just use your noodle. I think my pond is pregnant. Chat is on fire. Damn, give yourselves a round of applause. Oh my gosh, glory holes and ice. Yeah. So, anywho, okay. So, more from the cabinet meeting. This is the president talking about affordability. So, here you are. Again, this is the president of the United States, friends.
Our prices now for energy, but for gasoline are really low. Electricity's coming down, and when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam.
Oh.
They say it, and then they go on to the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation in the history of our country. Now, some people will correct me, because they always love to correct me, even though I'm right about everything. But some people like to correct me, and they say 48 years. I say it's not 48 years, it's much more. But they say it's the worst inflation that we've had in 48 years. I say ever. But whether it's 48 years or ever, it's pretty bad.
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Old 21, old 212 person, master baiting. Oh man, yeah, yep. That's just the fucking best. Well done. Well done. Well, new merch coming soon. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Anyway.
We had the worst inflation that we've ever had. Since last January, we've stopped inflation in its tracks. And there's still more to do. There's always more to do, but we have it down to a very good level. It's going to go down a little bit further. You want to have a little tiny bit more to do. There's always more to do, but we have it down to a very good level. It's going to go down a little bit further. You want to have a little tiny bit of inflation. Otherwise, that's not good either. Then you have a thing called deflation.
Okay. So, okay. MAGA, this is your guy, right, who's telling you that he's ended inflation. He's now acknowledging that there's inflation, only a little, like somebody said, just the tip of the hook. Just the tip. Just the tip of the ice shanty pole. Sorry, the rim shot's going to get a workout today, I can tell. But now he's saying, well, there's got to be some inflation. Okay.
And deflation can be worse than inflation. But we have it almost, we'll soon be at a perfect level. But we inherited the worst inflation. But we have 20 states that are now selling gasoline at less than the $2.75. Think of that, $2.75.
Not true.
And it was at $5 under Sleepy Joe. Grocery prices are down with the cost of Thanksgiving turkey this year down 33%. It was lower than 33% lower than under the Biden administration. Egg prices are way down 86%. Thank you. And mortgage rates, despite the fact that we have an incompetent chairman of the Fed, a real dope, who should reduce rates. I saw even Jamie Dimon said he should be reducing rates. I never saw Jamie Dimon say that. I wonder why he said that. But he really said it because he's right. But we have a guy that's just a stubborn ox.
So and I mentioned this earlier with our first guest, one of the big mistakes that the Biden administration made is they didn't speak to it in terms of the microeconomic impact of what was happening. They was always talking about macro, and they were right. The inflation rate was coming down, right? The inflation rate was coming at a high of 9%, although certain people who claim to be expert creators and debaters on this app made a public claim that inflation was 13%. Of course, we know that that's not true. But anyway, I digress. Inflation precipitously dropped during the Biden administration, but prices were already up. So prices became significantly more expensive during that time. Supply, demand, we know the reasons why, right? Mara Shanti. Whew. Yes. So the Biden administration did not message to it properly. It's a big mistake that they made. And it ultimately ended up costing Kamala Harris the election because people heard that. So the Trump administration is doing the exact same thing. Now it's just like they literally just gave the game away to Democrats because they talk about just the beginning of this again. The affordability piece is funny.
Our prices now for energy, but for gasoline are really low. Electricity's coming down. And when that comes down, everything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam. They say it and then they go into the next subject. And everyone thinks, oh, they had lower prices. No, they had the worst inflation.
So that's a campaign ad for the Democrats if they do it properly. Because if you're talking about, one of the things that you ran on, you dipshit, was telling people that you were going to lower their prices, even though we know that was not possible because of the way inflation works. So now you're saying the affordability thing is just a big scam. Inflation is up. The inflation rate is up. Now, if you were so confident that the work that you were doing was lowering the cost, then why would you be hiding the CPI numbers? Why would you not be releasing job numbers? We're not going to forget about that, okay? So we're waiting. Our team is on it. We know we have to get external estimates from ADP, and we know that we're continuing to lose jobs. We know that inflation is up. We all understand it. I could not find 20 states where the average gas price is under $2.75. We certainly know that there are 23 states that are in approaching recession if they're not there already. When do we stop blaming the Biden administration? When do we stop? We know that tariffs have directly impacted consumer pricing. The reason we know that is because when you take tariffs off of items that were some of the highest spike, you recognize that your tariffs caused those prices to spike. Speaking of tariffs, I want to just remind folks of a few things. I found this reporting by Zeteo News. So there are 6 countries in particular that I'm going to share this information with. It relates to what we just played about the impact of their glazing the president. Switzerland, a delegation of Swiss billionaires gave Trump an engraved gold bar worth $130,000 and a Rolex desk clock. 10 days later, their tariff went from 39% to 15%. Probably just a coincidence, though, right? Okay. Qatar. They gave the president a luxury Boeing 747 jetliner. Again, this is not to the This is not to the government. This is to the president. Okay, because let's be real. Gave a luxury Boeing 747 jetliner to the U.S. government to serve as the new Air Force One. According to ABC News, ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library at the end of his term. So what that means is this. If the refurbishing and the construction is completed during the Trump administration and they use it as Air Force One, he will be the only president that gets to use it as Air Force One because then it goes to his library at the end of the term. 3 days after the jetliner was offered, Qatar became the first customer for Raytheon's fixed site, low, slow, small, unmanned aerial system integrated defense system, FSLIDS, designed to counter unmanned aircraft. 3 days after that deal. Nothing to see here. Again, probably just a coincidence. South Korea. South Korea gave the president a replica of a golden crown and the Grand Order of the Mungunghwa Award, the nation's highest decoration, similar to our Presidential Medal of Freedom, hardest civilian honor. A drop in import tariffs on South Korea happened within 5 days of that, from 25% to 15%, and the U.S. approval of a South Korean plan to build nuclear-powered submarines. Interesting. Maybe not a coincidence. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabian real estate company Dar Al Aqad, privately owned and heavily reliant on government contracts, will build and pay for 2 Trump towers, one in Jeddah and one in Riyadh, that will earn the Trump family billions of dollars in licensing fees, etc. Dar Al Aqad is also set to partner with the Trumps to build an 80-villa resort in the Maldives. What they got? The U.S. signed a new strategic defense agreement and agreed to sell Saudi Arabia F-35s, which are considered the world's most advanced fighter jets, on the same day as that $1 trillion announcement. Interesting. Pakistan. What they got? They gave a Nobel Peace Prize nomination for ending its war with India, a wooden box of mineral samples, followed by a shipment of enriched rare earths and other critical minerals as a symbolic gesture. What they got? A tariff rate of 19% compared to India's 25%, and a U.S. firm is also investing $500 million in Pakistan's minerals. And finally, the UAE. They gave a $2 billion investment into the crypto company Binance using USD1, a dollar-pegged stablecoin launched by the Trump administration's, the Trump family's World Liberty Financial crypto venture. They got expanded access to advanced and scarce artificial intelligence computer chips from NVIDIA. Same day. Not only are your prices going up as a result of tariffs, your prices are going up as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs. People are losing jobs because of Donald Trump's tariffs. People, again, are losing jobs because of his tariffs. He is personally enriching himself. He and his family are personally enriching himself using tariffs as financial leverage. MAGA, it is not refutable. There's no way you can spin that. Absolutely no way that you can spin it. No way. Oh, it's beyond a violation of the Emoluments Clause, in my opinion. Which is, again, why this Honduran president paid for his pardon. And people are like, Trump don't need the money. Well, then why is he getting all these deals? It's not a question of him needing the money. It's a question of him wanting the money. Most people, I won't say it. He's not needy, he's wanty. You know who I'm talking about. How can this be okay? Where are the fiscal conservatives? Where are the people who talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? Where the fuck are they? People are crazy. We'll talk more about that. All right, this is a little bit from Pam Bondi. This is almost like Pam Bondi's audition for fascism. I got to take a quick little break here, but she is. We haven't heard from Pam in a little while. Not yet. They don't care about us. That's an understatement. Yeah, wrinkle orange skin. Like I said, Pam Bondi it's a full-on audition for her for fascism, and this is kind of how it starts. Based on the way in which, first of all, the way in which she speaks just annoys the fuck out of me with these dramatic pauses in the way in which she says things. But here you go.
National Guard to every city we possibly can. Who needs our help? And that's a lot of them. We're tied up, as you know, in a lot of court hearings right now. These young men and women in the Guard, they want to help our country. They want to be here. They are patriots, yet they will not be attacked by a radical Islamic terrorist who screams by reports, Ali Akbar, before shooting 2 of our Guard members and almost killing more.
Sorry, my bad. I mean, what? Like, what the fuck? I mean, this. Okay, back to the glazing. Let's go. I played that for you. That's crazy. I've got a little bit more from that. Just insanely. I don't even know how to describe that cabinet meeting, but. This part is just bona fide 10 toes fucking down racism. Whenever we talk about this in terms of Trump's voters, of course, the hardcore MAGA, like Trump's not a racist. Well, you don't think he's a racist because you're racist. You don't think Charlie Kirk was a racist because you're a racist. You don't think anything that these people say is racist because you're a racist. Plain and fucking simple. So this comment alone is just disqualifying for so many reasons, but here you go.
Tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
And the cabinet is applauding. Let them go back to their country where they came from. We can connect that to the shithole countries comments, and he only identifies women of color for the most part when he makes these horrible statements. He's gone after everybody, but he's identified like a Congresswoman Presley and AOC and Ilhan Omar and others. And there's a common theme there. They're women. They're women of color. But that's not racist, right, MAGA? That's just common sense. And people are applauding it. Jasmine, right? Again, I'm going to reiterate this because he's right. We are at a tipping point in our country. He's absolutely right. He is absolutely right. How do you want to be remembered? So when that clip plays in 5 years or 10 years and you hear people applauding, are you going to say, absolutely, sign me the fuck up? Or are you going to be like, wow, I cannot believe I was connected to that? Or will you be the fucking pathetic cowards that you are and say, that wasn't me. I wasn't me. No, I didn't do that. Wasn't me at all. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. Nope. I didn't do it. Wasn't me. Wasn't me. And the thing is that the cuck, the mediocre white men in particular, they're not brave enough to try to defend it because they're racist too. They're bigoted too. They're misogynist too. They're transphobic. They're homophobic. They're all of it. People who want to try to unpack their, to become anti-racist, to become, traitor to the patriarchy, to become anti-hate, requires work. You got to make a commitment, be willing to change. But because our president is a fucking racist bigot, he's just going to double down and they're going to lap it up like the lapdogs that they are. Celebrating people's suffering. That's what this entire thing to me is about. Sure, we talk about it in political terms, but the entire thing is about people's suffering. That they're celebrating it. They're cheering, saying that people don't deserve food in our country because there might be some fraud. What? They're literally watching people suffer, and they're cheering it on. Member of the leadership team in the House, when Mike Johnson was asked about the R slur, she's laughing. What do you think about the... If this doesn't motivate you, if you're an on-the-fence voter, if you are somebody who's never been engaged in politics, then I'm glad you found us if you're here. It's unacceptable. I don't care what your politics are. At the end of the day, when it comes down to human rights, I don't give a fuck what your politics are. Cancer doesn't care who you vote for. Hunger doesn't care who you vote for. Starvation doesn't care who you vote for. Your ability to have health care doesn't care who you vote for. What matters is whether or not you care about people who are suffering because of those things. And we can't accept it. It's just, we can't accept it. Who are we going to fight for? So people like Afton Bain, yes, I realize that she lost in Tennessee last night, but she picked up 9 points. 9 points. A district that was, actually it's more than that, 13 points. A district that Trump won in 2024 by 22 points. She lost by almost 9. That's amazing. That is a district that was re-gerrymandered to protect that seat. Not only did they lose ground, but they lost ground by double digits. That is what we're talking about. She is somebody to be reckoned with because her policy platform was amazing. Total on fucking progressive. And I love it. I love it. So the president of the United States just doubling down on hatred, using the R slur, and then people celebrating it. You see what I mean? This is what I'm talking about, right? This is what I'm talking about. Not good enough. Ha, 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 ha. Okay. Con job by Democrats have played that. Yes. All right. This is Pam at this is her take. This is her taint sniff during the cabinet meeting.
Are working on terrorism, TDA, MS-13, Antifa, President Trump. We've charged more than 500 defendants with assault on federal officers thanks to your directive. And also, we have dropped countless cases against Americans that were prosecuted under the Biden administration, including J6, COVID, FACE Act, and more.
Do you think it's a flex, Pam, to say that you're dropping cases against insurrectionist traitors? Do you think that's a flex? You really think it's a flex that you're dropping cases against insurrectionist traitors? Aren't you the Attorney General for the United States? You're not Attorney General for Donald Trump. You're the Attorney General for the United States. You're there to defend us. And a traitorous mob tries to overthrow the election at the behest of their president, and you're celebrating letting them go? Wow.
Major settlement. Our attorneys are working on terrorism, TDA, MS-13, Antifa, President Trump. We've charged more than 500 defendants with assault on federal officers thanks to your directive. And also, we have dropped countless cases against Americans that were prosecuted under the Biden administration, including J6, COVID, FACE Act, and more.
What? Okay. Cool. I'm so happy to hear that. Speaking of J6 and how Donald Trump was investigated and how, oh, by the way, I jumped into a live briefly yesterday afternoon because someone was saying, and I love this argument because I think it really blows up in their face, critical of the New York judicial system. The reason I bring it up is because people are saying, oh, well, the hunter and drug lord, let's just make sure we understand exactly what we're talking about here. Juan Orlando Hernandez, often abbreviated JOH, was convicted in 2024 in a U.S. court on trafficking and weapons charges. He's being pardoned. We know that. The reason that he was tried in New York is because the Southern District of New York holds jurisdiction over crimes like this. There's a couple of judicial districts across the country, New York being one. That's why he was tried there. So what the right is attempting to paint now in a way to justify the president pardoning a drug lord, thank you very much, is to say you can't trust the court systems. You can't trust it. Okay. That's great to know. I'm glad you can't trust the court system. So then I asked the question. To this person. I said, all right, where should MAGA Republicans commit crimes to get a fair trial? And of course, this person went to, well, Texas or Florida or Montana. And I'm like, so then those are red states. So wouldn't that be bias? And I shit you not, this person's response was, no, because conservatives aren't biased. Okay, good to know. That's great. I'm so glad we had that. I'm so glad we could discuss that. So the president received a letter from the Honduran president. We'll post this in our Discord. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this guy was coached as to how to send a letter to our president. He uses bold text. He uses capitalization because he knows the president won't read it. He knows that it will just be like the highlights, like the Cliff Notes version. Remember those little things? My mother would never let me use those. I'm like, I want to use the Cliff. She's like, no. Oh, no. You're not going to use the Cliff Notes. You're going to work. You're going to bust your ass and you're going to work through it. You're not going to cut corners. So anyway, thank you, Mom. So it's a 4-page letter. I won't read you the whole thing. I'm just going to read you some of the highlights because it's a fucking glaze fest. All right, here you go. First of all, His Excellency, it bolded. His Excellency, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, etc. Your Excellency, I have the honor to extend to you my warmest greetings and convey my highest respect, esteem, and blessings. This next paragraph is in bold. Bold. Let's show the idiot, the man-child, in bold. Okay, cool. Mr. President, I have hesitated to send this letter knowing the imminent demands of your office, but the grave injustice I now endure compels me to appeal directly to you. I write to you from a federal penitentiary, unjustly serving a 45-year sentence, effectively a life sentence given my age. Just as you, President Trump, I have suffered political persecution targeted by the Biden-Harris administration, not for any wrongdoing, but for political reasons. Okay, it continues, blah, blah, blah. Like you, I sought only to serve my people, to uphold our conservative values while leading unprecedented reforms to make my country stronger and safer. And like you, I was recklessly attacked by radical leftist forces who could not tolerate change, who conspired with drug traffickers and resorted to false accusations, lawfare, and selective justice to destroy what we had achieved and clear the path for the Honduran radical left's return to power. Yeah, and then it's 4 pages, and he summarizes it. In light of these ongoing injustices and the clear case of lawfare by the Biden-Harris administration, I respectfully request a review of my case in the interest of justice. I am confident that such a review will reveal overwhelming evidence of my innocence and expose the grave injustice that only you have the authority and power to correct through a pardon. I am mindful of the words you spoke at your inauguration that, quote, never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, and that under your leadership, justice will be fair, equal, and impartial. Based on those principles that you expressed with such clarity and firmness, I humbly ask that justice be done. Mr. President, our shared fight for secure borders, against drugs, for the safety of our people, and for the defense of democracy has come at great personal cost to both of us. Yet history will remember what we stood firm for. I place my trust with you, your leadership. The truth will prevail. I cannot remain silent for silence would betray the truth. As Dr. Martin Luther King's words echo with painful clarity in my life, quote, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to justice. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Honduras. That is the letter. Again, great reporting by the New York Times. That is the letter the Honduran president sent to our president. As a reminder, the U.S. conviction portrayed Hernandez not as a passive figure, but as an active collaborator with major cartels, allegedly organizing and facilitating massive shipments from Honduras to the U.S., using state resources and protection networks, including security forces, to safeguard trafficking operations. Prosecutors stated that Hernandez even boasted to traffickers about helping them, quote, stuff the drugs up the noses of the gringos, underscoring the brazenness of the criminal enterprise. The scale. Evidence presented at trial pointed to more than 400 tons of schmocaine trafficked into the U.S., a quantity described as enough for billions of individual doses. Many experts, former law enforcement officials, and anti-drug advocates see the pardon as a deeply problematic. They argue that pardoning a former head of state convicted of large-scale narco trafficking threatens to undermine the U.S. and regional credibility in drug enforcement and anti-corruption efforts. So somebody, MAGA, guys, you want to explain this to me? You want to explain it? So you're fine with the president of Honduras using the same bullshit fucking rhetoric that our president uses about weaponization, radical leftists. You probably won't, will you? I mean, I wouldn't either. But that's just me. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Okay, let me see if I've got this queued up. I read that to you. Read that. Affordability, did that. So this is Kristi Noem. This is her turn to glaze. Chrissy's a good glazer, especially if there's a puppy around.
Well, Mr. President, thank you for giving me a very interesting job. Some days it's a little controversial too, but it's been an honor to work for you. You are a great American. The fights that you pick are the right fights, and they're always on behalf of this country. So I appreciate the chance to do this job heading up this department. If you think about what Joe Biden did with the Department of Homeland Security, he used this department to invade the country with terrorists.
Jesus. Oh my God. They're not going to stop talking about Joe. They're just not. Okay. Remember earlier we discussed. Hold on. Remember earlier we discussed about how the cabinet during the Glaze Fest wants to remind people that he's playing 4D chess. And we discussed earlier, or we played earlier, that in his mind, inflation is up because prices are up. Okay, well, he's now addressing his health. They released the MRI report, and it was for his abdomen for the most part, although he didn't know that. Okay, so this is wild. Buckle up, friends.
I took my physical. I got all A's, everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one.
Let's start there. That is a full-on fucking lie. Presidents take cognitive tests, neurological exams. Happens all the time. Okay? It happens all the fucking time. This is what he's trying desperately to convince his followers that he's smart. He's fucking stupid. You don't get all A's on something. You just don't. So I don't know yet how they're going to spin this, other than by saying they'll play his sound. They'll play it. Well, here's the president right here telling him, telling everybody how smart he is. You don't believe that? Well, fake news. You guys only talk about it. Well, here's his own words. Okay.
I said, yes. I said, well, I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right. And these are tough questions. These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people from the fake news, would not do well in those exams. But I'm the only one that took it. I got every single question right. And then I read in the New York Times, is Trump sharp? Trump is sharp. But they're not sharp. That's why they're going out of business, the New York Times. I hear that.
Yeah, that's why they're going out of business. Hold on a second. Okay, so the exam that he took is the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Exam. I went through this with you guys once before, okay? And I want to do this again real quick because I don't want history to forget. Let me just find it. Give me a second here. Okay, this is the exam, okay? This is the exam that he took. This is the one that he keeps referencing because this is the one that has the person, woman, man, camera, TV. I'm going to read you the questions, okay? I'm going to read you the questions that are on the exam that our president took, okay? So this is, it's broken down into categories, all right? The first section up here, you have to make the comparison between what number correlates to which letter. So 1 goes to A, 2 to B, 3 to C. Okay? This box here is draw a clock. All right? Draw a clock and make it 10 minutes past 12. Okay? This next section here is name the animal. Okay? This next section is read a list of words. Subject must repeat them, do 2 trials. Even if first trial is successful, do a recall after 5 minutes. This is the person, woman, man, camera, TV section. The next section is the attention section. This is the actual exam. This is the one that he took. Okay, this is the one that he took. Read a list of digits. Subject has to repeat them in the forward order. Then subject has to repeat them in the backward order. Then language. Repeat this. I only know that John is the one to help today. The cat always hid under the couch when dogs were in the room. You're just asked to repeat it. Abstraction. Similarity between things. For example, bananas and oranges are what? A train and a bicycle are considered what? A watch and a ruler do what? Delayed recall. You have to, he has to recall words again with no cue. Category cues, multiple choice. That, friends, is the test that he took. That is the test that the president took. There's not 20 questions. This is it. This is the test. This is it. So when he talks about things in terms of being, I aced it. You don't ace it. You get a score. Okay? You get a score. And he claimed that he aced it, right? So that sound again from Dear Leader. Here you go.
I took my physical.
Now that you know what the test was that he took, okay, this is how he addressed it, because again, that you can fact check me on that. That is the test that he took, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment Exam. That's the one. It's like a standard. You measure things like early onset Alzheimer's, early onset dementia. That's why you give that test. That is the test. That is the test that he took. Okay.
I got all A's, everything. But they said to me, would you like to take a cognitive test? I said, is it hard? They said, yes. I said, well.
It's hard? Okay.
I'm a very smart person. Who was the last president to take one? No president has ever agreed to take one. Because when you get into the mid-questions, meaning, 10, question number 10, 11, 12, 28, 30, they get harder and harder. And they said, would you like to do it? I said, well, no reason to do it. Nobody's ever done it. I'll do it maybe, but there's really no reason. They said, sir, the problem is this is Walter Reed Hospital. And that's a military hospital. And that means that things are, sort of open. It's not like private where you have, if you do poorly, we'll have to, probably you'll find out. I said, I won't do poorly. I'm a smart person, not a stupid person. And as the doctor will tell you, I aced it. Right, Susie? I aced. I got every question right. And these are tough questions.
So he looks over to Susie Wiles, who's the chief of staff. He's like, right, I aced it, right? You know what this feels like to me? Remember when your kids were in elementary school and they got off the bus and you met them at the bus stop, right? And they got their first spelling test back, and they got every question right, and they've got the star, and they've got the crayons, and they got all the things that the teacher did to show them that they did a really good job. And they come running up the driveway or wherever they were, and they're like, hold on.
Mommy, look, I got all the words right. I got them. I got all the the words right. I got a star in my paper. I got an extra piece of gum at lunch. I got all the words right. And teacher said that I should give this to you so you can put it on the fridge because I got it all right.
It's what it feels like. I mean, that's what it feels like. He needs oxygen from his fucking people. He needs it. He needs them to praise him, and they'll do it. Questions.
These are questions that I would say 99% of the people that I'm talking to right now, meaning the people from the fake news, would not do well in those exams.
So we're just going to throw this out there, right? We're just going to throw this out there. We're going to throw this out there. 99% of the people who are journalists, I can guarantee you that because we have the smartest chat on TikTok, you would all do extremely well. But in the president's world, he is the only one. And his cabinet fucking glazes him.
But I'm the only one that took it. I got every single question right. And then I read in the New York Times, is Trump sharp? Trump is sharp. But they're not sharp. That's why they're going out of business, the New York Times. I hear that they're losing so much money, it's ridiculous.
Listen, if I was grading the tests, I would make sure, I would have private office hours.
Hey now.
I'm just saying, the president is fucking off his nut. He's like, this is how desperate he's become. His polls are in the fucking shitter. He's getting called out right and left because of the corruption in his administration. He's incompetent. People he's put in positions of power within his cabinet are completely fucking delusional, and they're incompetent and they're corrupt. So the only thing he's got left, the only place he can go for safety is his little cabinet meeting, surrounded by his sycophants, surrounded by the people who will glaze him no matter what, surrounded by people who come up and kiss the ring, and he's gonna double down, and he's gonna expect them to cheer him on. And those people that are sitting there, pathetic, absolutely fucking pathetic, because they all know. They all know that he's losing it. They all know that he is in failing health. They all know that he is a fucking madman. They all know that he used the R slur. They all know that he called a female reporter, told her quiet piggy. They all know that just recently he called another reporter stupid. They all know. And they have to sit there and take it because they're all in on it. They're all fucking in on it. Every single one of them is either enriching themselves or have a connection to something else, or because they're Christian nationalist, bloodthirsty fervor for eliminating marginalized communities is so strong that they'll sell their fucking soul. They're all complicit, every single one of them. And there's tens of millions of Americans in this fucking country that just don't give a shit. They just don't care. So once again, when you're having conversations with your friends or your family members regarding, MAGA, just remind them of a few things. Remind them of that. Remind them of that. Remind them that they can no longer claim to be about law and order. They can no longer claim to be a protection for marginalized communities. They can no longer claim to be on the side of veterans. They can no longer be on the side of law enforcement. None of it. They've lost the plot. They are indoctrinated. They are loyal to a person who is a pathetic fucking human being. Period. If that shit that I just played this morning, just that alone, if that doesn't encourage you to do something, if that doesn't encourage you to be more active and push back against democracy, then I don't know what else is. Then I really don't know what else is. I really don't. I don't know how you could possibly defend it. How do you defend it? Quentin.
Hey, good morning. I'm 60 years old, voted for the president twice. I live in Dallas. I just want to make a public service announcement. I'm letting people use my white privilege this weekend if you'll just DM me. This guy here has made his living because of Trump. He's so hypocritical. He's made his living.
Okay. So if you would like to try, what the question I'm going to ask you, Quentin,
Nobody really knows who you are.
Okay, I'd like you to defend your vote. Okay, defend your vote. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Defending my vote, I voted for a president that I think can run the country, who's done a great job. You wouldn't have any of those.
Let's talk that one at a time. Let's talk about one at a time. Don't crash. Let's see if you can be
no one's
the only.
Crashing. No one's crashing.
Let's see if you can be the only beta male.
You hate me. I don't hate you. You hate me because I voted for Trump. You literally hate my guts and would love to see me dead.
Would you like to have a conversation, Quentin, or do you just like to hear yourself talk?
I don't like you because you don't like me, right? Is that how it works?
I pity you, is what it is.
No, I'm doing very good. I live in Highland Park, Dallas, if you know where that's at. I'm doing very, very well. I'm not sitting here. You're here. I see you a lot. Yeah, I do care about myself. I think you're a low-life scumbag.
Do you care about others? Oh, I thought you said you cared about me.
I do.
Did you just say that you cared about you? But
I think you're a low-life scumbag that has hope. You have hope to change. You have hope to change. I'm trying to get you to change, and I'll tell you what.
So Quentin, you said you care about me. So a person who cares about someone, would you call them a low-life scumbag?
You're a low-life scumbag in this moment, but you have the opportunity to change, and that's why I'm here.
But you said you care about me. So this is the problem, Quentin. I asked you a simple question, right? I asked you a simple question to tell me why. Excuse me. I asked you a simple question. The question I asked you was, tell me why you support Trump. And when I asked you that question, the only thing you could do was insult me. So I'm going to ask you again. And we'll take it one at a time. Excuse me. We'll take it one at a time, right? We'll take it one. I hear the uncomfortable laughter because I know you're kind of caught now because you have to defend this shit. So I'm asking you to defend. Right. I'm asking you to defend it. So defend your vote. Are you comfortable with the president using the R? Are you comfortable? I'll ask you some specific questions. Are you comfortable with the president using the R slur?
I'm so comfortable with him being a human being. I know who he is.
It's not the question I asked.
Yes.
That's not the question I ask.
Yeah, I am comfortable with it. Go ahead.
Cool. I figured. You see what I mean, friends? You see? This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. All you do is cut people off, Phil. Let the dude answer. So I should let somebody answer. Oh, okay, Phil. Why don't you request, right? Why don't you request and I'll ask you the same question. And if your answer is going to be you're fine with the president using the R slur, then I'll show your ass the fucking door too. It's pretty simple. I don't know why it's so difficult. But again, just like I said this morning to start, friends, this is what people do. This is who they are. They don't care about others. They have the same people who are they're cross-bearing Christians who go to church on Sunday, claim to be on the fucking moral high ground, and you're celebrating the president using the R slur publicly. And you don't see anything wrong with it. You're not going to get picked. He doesn't give a fuck about you in Highland Park. Wow, that's a cool flex. When I flex, bro, it's because of the things that I do for my fellow humans. And I don't even flex. Because I fucking care about people. I truly care about people. I want people to have a better fucking life. I want people to have health care, food, water, shelter, bare fucking minimum. That's what I want. That's what I care about. I vote for people that I don't fucking know. You made it very clear that you only vote for yourself. And you don't see a problem with that. We do. Highland Park isn't that fancy? Okay, I don't even give a shit. You don't fucking care. And you have to live in that stench. I can put my head in the pillow when I do sleep every night and know that I care about people. And know that it makes an impact on people's lives when you care about people. It's that fucking simple. But you're fine. I just want to make it very clear because I asked you the question. You're fine with the president of the United States insulting every American family who has a person of special needs in their group, because the R slur is a horrible fucking word, and you know it is. That's who you are. That's it. That's who you are. And you know what? I'm comfortable as shit calling that stuff out, and you have to live with it. And you're probably sitting there, oh, that Liv, I owned him. He had to kick me. You're damn right I did, and I'm fucking happy to do it again. I have no tolerance for you. I will literally talk to anybody. People just request, and I'll bring them up. But you don't get past the fucking door if you're going to be a piece of fucking shit. Plain and fucking simple. You want to drop slurs. You want to be a fucking bigot. You want to be a full-blown fucking racist. You want to be a transphobe, a homophobe. This is not the fucking place for you. It's not the fucking place for you. This is not a safe space. Okay? Just want you to know that. All right. One of the things that we didn't get to yesterday. Well, actually, let me play some more sound from Caroline. This is fucking wild because I read you the letter from the Honduran president. I read you that letter from the Honduran president and about how he had to kind of basically do the same thing that the cabinet's doing, fucking glaze the donut, the fascist donut. He was coached as to what to say in that letter. So Susie Wiles, or, you know, they probably had to convert it to a large font or put it on an audiobook because the president's too stupid to fucking read. He was coached as to what to say, how to say it. The entire thing was Biden injustice, blah fucking blah, blah fucking blah. So this is Caroline doubling down on the bullshit.
The president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro of?
You're cherry picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president...
Do you know at all how fucking prosecutions work, Caroline? Do you understand that when you are going after the top of the organization, you start with the rank and file? You flip people along the way. That's how it fucking works. That's how it's always worked. You go after the accountant to get them to go on the record that Al Capone was a tax fraud. That's how it fucking works. That's how it works. What the fuck?
Heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that.
What? Okay, so then so that's a very interesting statement. I just kind of caught that. President's got the authority to pardon whoever he wants, right? So why the fuck are you questioning Biden? Why are you doing that? Why are you questioning the Biden administration? You don't like it? Tough shit. Don't fucking care. Again, going back to what the conviction portrayed. Most of the cocaine shipments were trafficked into New York and the East Coast. U.S. prosecutors showed that the trafficking networks were extensive. Hernandez protected them and moved hundreds of tons into the U.S. with New York City and the broader East Coast as key destinations. Because the crimes affected New York directly, SDNY had jurisdiction. That's why the case was tried in New York. Under U.S. law, again, I'm providing this information for you now because this is what the right is attempting to say, that the Biden administration set this up so they could try him in New York so that they could get a conviction. The law says, the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution for one, where the crimes are committed is where you're tried. Evidence is the overwhelming majority of the shipments that came into the U.S. came into New York. Therefore, that is why the case was tried there. Under U.S. law, 21 U.S. Code 959 and 960, the U.S. can prosecute foreign nationals who, 1, manufacture or distribute schmugs knowing or intending they will be imported into the United States. SDNY is one of the Department of Justice's primary hubs for international schmug and corruption cases, especially involving cartels, money laundering, foreign officials tied to schmug operations. Hernandez's case fell squarely into that mandate. The conspiracy included operations with traffickers already protected in SDNY. Key traffickers connected to Hernandez, including his brother Tony, Fabio Lobo, and various cartel leaders, were already charged and convicted in New York because evidence overlapped, witnesses were already cooperating with SDNY prosecutors, and the conspiracy was part of the same network. Placing Mr. Hernandez's trial in SDNY was legal and effectively and logistically effective. Much of the investigation work was done by SDNY, the DEA, New York, and FBI. By the way, they started investigating this guy during the first Trump administration, but that's probably a detail that the MAGA doesn't want to talk about. The task force handling the investigation was based in New York. They used wiretaps, informants, undercover operations, financial tracing, and cartel witness debriefs. Okay? Tony Hernandez, his brother, and former Honduran congressman, was convicted in SDNY in 2019 for trafficking massive amounts of schmocaine into the U.S. 2019. Who was president? Who was president then? Oh, gosh, it escapes me. Prosecutors argue that JOH was not only aware of his brother's operations, but actively protected and facilitated them. Because Tony's case was tried in SDNY, the same venue was appropriate for prosecuting co-conspirators, government officials aiding in the conspiracy, and the political protection enabling the trafficking. Some of the shipments transited through airports and ports under SDNY's jurisdiction. Evidence showed that specific schmocaine shipments transported through Honduras were flown to the U.S., offloaded or distributed through New York and New Jersey, which again is why the SDNY had jurisdiction. Bottom line, the trafficking he enabled was aimed at New York and the East Coast. SDNY is the DOJ's leading office. Key witnesses and co-conspirators were already prosecuted, and U.S. law gives SDNY authority and jurisdiction. So enough. Enough. Why are you defending a drug trafficker? Why? Why are you defending him? Why are you defending someone who said, I'm going to stuff the snow up the noses of the gringos? Why? If you want people who are in opposition to the war crimes committed by this administration, if you want us to say that you truly do care about the war on drugs, then you should be the ones yelling the fucking loudest about what happened. Because from what we know, the Honduran president sends a glazing fucking letter, blaming his entire conviction on the Biden-Harris administration, instead of looking at the fact that this guy committed fucking crimes. By the way, it's totally fine to prosecute his brother during the Trump administration. It's totally fine to do that. Totally fine to prosecute his brother during the Trump administration the first time. But because his brother, who was the Honduran president at the time, was instrumental in not only protecting his brother, but also perpetuating and participating in what was 400,000 metric tons of schmocaine being brought into the country. That's okay with you though, right? Interesting. I'd like it to make sense, and I can't find anybody to explain it. Because when I ask the question, all we get is the weak-ass beta men screaming. There's no one that can defend it. There's no one that can sit here and defend it, which is why they won't, which is why their weak-ass beta selves will show up. And they'll scream, and they'll yell, and they'll try to turn the conversation to an entirely different topic. Because they can't defend it. Because if they tried to defend it, they would be shown to be the hypocrites that they are. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to what I'm going to play for you now is just to kind of cover or sort of wrap up with a nice little bow. The moral, the lack of morals and the fucking pit that this administration is from a humanitarian perspective, just a 100,000 foot view when we look into this thing. Lawrence O'Donnell's doing some great reporting recently, and I'm playing a little sound from Lawrence O'Donnell here because he talks about everything in terms of not only the schmug boat attacks, but just how this entire administration, like I said earlier, is bloodthirsty. Here you go.
The most incompetent and unqualified Secretary of Defense in history, the only one who had to pledge to stop drinking in order to win Senate confirmation, keeps changing his story. And we don't know if he stopped drinking. When publicly suspected of murder, changing your story is cause for increasing suspicion of guilt. And when your changed story is worse than your first false account, then your story cannot survive a real investigation. And now Pete Hegseth's story hinges on a new lie, the fog of war. He's claiming the fog of war, but you cannot have the fog of war without a war. And Pete Hegseth does not have a war.
Sorry, I'm going to pause real quick because I want to give Caitlin a shout out. Thank you for your $10 donation on Venmo, Caitlin. Caitlin says, it's like a bad kid's novel. You give a mouse ice fishing, he's going to want a shanty. You give a mouse a shanty, he's going to start a prostitution ring. So yes, thank you, Caitlin, very much. It's so true. Sorry.
Pete Hegseth has gone from saying he could see very clearly what was happening when he authorized the killing of 11 people in a small boat running on outboard motors that posed absolutely no threat to the United States of America in any way, a boat that was about 1,200 miles away from the nearest point in the United States of America. He's now claiming that he couldn't see what was going on that boat because of the fog of war. Vietnam combat veterans can tell you about the fog of war. They can tell you about not knowing which direction the gunfire was coming from when it was killing their teammates. Soldiers in real combat situations in any war can tell you about the fog of war, but there is no fog.
Correct.
In Pentagon offices where Pete Hegseth was watching that boat, and there is no fog in that video that we have seen of that small boat destroyed by an American missile under Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth's authority and under their orders. Here is Republican Senator Rand Paul's summary of Pete Hegseth's personal fog of war.
Yeah, I played this sound for you before, but it's part of the story, so we'll report on it again.
There's a very distinct statement was said on Sunday. Secretary Hegseth said he had no knowledge of this and it did not happen. It was fake news. It didn't happen. And then the next day from the podium with the White House are saying it did happen. So either he was lying to us on Sunday or he's incompetent and didn't know it had happened.
Senator Paul knows that he doesn't have to choose between lying and incompetent. Pete Hegseth has proved he's capable of both. George Will is the dean of conservative political writers in this country and the best prose stylist of all of them. In his new Washington Post column, George Will says, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth seems to be a war criminal without a war. There was a time when George Will was the thought leader of the smartest Republicans in our government, but he has mostly given up hope of influencing Washington Republicans in the Trump era. And now, with the Washington Post reporting that Pete Hegseth authorized a second missile strike aimed at the wreckage of that small boat because there were still 2 people alive clinging to that wreckage. George Will wrote, the killing of the survivors by this moral slum of an administration should nauseate Americans. The moral slum of the Trump administration. Donald Trump is doing what he always does when he's in trouble. He's pretending he doesn't know anything about it, except that he knows for sure that he was not involved in it. When Donald Trump was not closing his eyes and apparently nodding off in today's absurd reality show that he calls a cabinet meeting, Donald Trump insisted that he's the only president of the United States in history incapable of obtaining information about a military attack under his authority.
As far as the attack is concerned, I still haven't gotten a lot of information because I rely on Pete. But to me, it was an attack. It wasn't 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes. Somebody asked me a question about the second strike. I didn't know about the second strike. I didn't know anything about people. I wasn't involved.
Again, you're the commander-in-chief, right? You don't know? You just don't know? So that's your excuse for everything? And I see the beta-ass MAGA fucking little boys in the chat. Well, you guys support Schmo coming into the country. No, we don't. We support law and order. You're the ones that are releasing drug kingpins. And you're the ones that for years said that Joe Biden didn't know what the fuck was going on. And your guy is literally telling you he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But fine.
I knew they took out a boat. But I would say this. They had a strike. I hear the gentleman that was in charge of that is extraordinary. He's an extraordinary person. I'll let Pete speak about him. But Pete was satisfied. Pete didn't know about second attack having to do with 2 people.
Oh,
exactly.
So that's their new story today. Pete didn't know about the second attack.
Exactly.
So Donald Trump, who says he hasn't gotten a lot of information about this, then gives you the crucial information, which sounds like a new invention, that Pete Hegseth didn't know about the second attack. Could have said that on Sunday. Could have said that when the story broke.
That's right. He could have.
The attack occurred on September 2nd.
Correct.
And 91 days later, Donald Trump, the oblivious president of the United States, is trying to stay awake in the cabinet room and telling you he didn't know about the second attack until the Washington Post told him about it by printing their story that Pete Hegseth first lied about and said was totally false. Now Pete Hegseth has in effect confirmed every element of the Washington Post story except that the second strike was his idea. The Washington Post reports Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a spoken directive, according to 2 people with direct knowledge of the operation. The order was to kill everybody.
Correct.
One of them said. Today, Pete Hegseth came up with the new story that he had moved on to his next meeting before the second strike occurred.
Again, can you imagine being so pathetic that you claim to be this person with the warrior ethos, the person that you say, is looking out, has got the backs of his active duty. That guy, one of the most pathetic. I haven't done it yet, by the way. I'll use this right now. Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, J.D. Vance, President Trump. I'm Steve. Facts. I go live every Monday through Friday from 8 till noon. Fuck you. Thanks for playing. Can you imagine literally that would be the assistant manager to war crimes, the assistant to the assistant manager of war crimes, telling the American Armed Services that I've got your back. At the same time, you're throwing people under the bus, including a highly decorated black man who's an admiral, Admiral Halsey, who's ready to testify, who's got the fucking receipts. That guy's got your back? That guy? Okay.
Wow. As you can imagine, at the Department of
Hold on.
Strike occurred.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision.
How did he have the authority, Pete? See, you tell on yourself because you're so full of yourself. How did he have the authority? Somebody had to grant him that authority, right? How does he have the authority? Again, how does he have the authority? I've been in leadership positions. Prior to going out on my own 4.5 years ago, I was a chief marketing officer in an organization. I had 425 people in the pillar that I had responsibility over. The buck stopped with me. Shit happened in my organization. It was my responsibility, good or bad, or indifferent. problems with personnel, problems with metrics, problems with performance. It was on me. That's what you get when you are in leadership. When you ascend to the highest realm of leadership, the buck fucking stops with you. The buck stops with you, period. How the fuck did that person have the authority? Because it's one of two things, Pete. Either authority was the order to eliminate the boat and all contents on it okay, Bentley. Bentley, by the way, I don't know if you realize this, but the video that you tagged me in from that debate didn't really go well for your girl, did it? No, it didn't. Because in that same video, she acknowledged she doesn't give a fuck about Geneva Convention, which is what we're talking about here today. So thanks for that, Bentley. I appreciate you very, very much. Again, the order came from whom? Because it's one of two things. Either you gave the fucking order, Pete, or people in your chain of command are insubordinate. So which is it? Do you want to accept the responsibility of leadership? Is that what you want to do? You want to accept the responsibility for leadership like a leader's supposed to do? Because you're not getting the example from the president because he's going to pass the fucking buck too. He's going to pass the buck too. Again, when leadership has responsibilities. If you are going to be a leader, then part of leadership, part of being a leader is to accept responsibility for things that happen within your pillar. Why could that not happen? Why? Why could that not happen? Why is it so unique to this administration that they pass the buck to everybody else? Good morning, friend. How are you?
Oh, hello, friend. Oh, enjoying your show as usual. You're doing a great job helping me prep for my podcast Friday that we're going to record, and we're going to talk about the Honduras and the boats and stuff. So I'm so much enjoying that.
I had a hard time hearing you. Maybe you're just...
Oh, hang on one second. Can you hear me okay now? No?
Are you driving?
I just want you to look at a presser from the Pentagon. They basically, she rolled Hegseth and Trump in that there's a presser you can find. It just happened from the Pentagon. Kingsley, I believe, is their press person. Take a look at that. And she says these orders are coming directly from Secretary Hegseth and Trump. So, all right, drop me down.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you very, very much. Mods, I hope if you guys caught that. I heard there might be a presser out there. If somebody wants to see if they can find that for me, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. Again, you're in a leadership position. It's your freaking job. It's your job. Okay, watch this. I'm going to bring this guy up, and I'm going to guarantee you within 5 seconds he's going to rage bait. Watch this. Watch.
Good morning, my friend. Did you paint your nails? You ready to mute me? You're going to mute?
5 seconds. Not even 5. We didn't even get to 5 seconds. We didn't even get there. I told you. Yeah. Mr. Nice Guy might be one of the biggest pieces of shit out there. Oh no, I'm not scared, my friend. It's pity. Good morning, Fairy Dust. How are you today?
Goodness. Hi, Steve. Hi, chat. I just have a quick question. So the general who they're trying to throw under the bus, because he's actively on duty, is he able to come forward and say anything? Does he have to get an attorney? I don't know if you know the answers to these questions or not, but I know we have some servicemen and women in the chat, and I'm just wondering what are his legal protections and all of this stuff that's going on since they're trying to throw him under the bus?
Well, from what I've read, it's a great question. From what I've read, if you are, because of the Nuremberg trials, just following orders is no longer a defense. So if you as an active duty military personnel execute an order that is unlawful, then you are subjected to criminality, violations of the UCMJ, for example. So it's a great question. I don't know how long once you take the oath, you take the oath. But this Admiral Halsey, who is resigning because of under pressure for whatever else, is now saying that he's got the receipts. So it's a great question. I'm not sure how it goes, but you're not protected. So anybody who if it's investigated and it's determined from what we've seen, the person who actually pulled the trigger, so to speak, is responsible.
But like, say he didn't at all. Like he wasn't the one who gave any sort of directive whatsoever, and he was just in the room. He said absolutely nothing, but they're trying to throw him under the bus. So would he be able to get like an independent lawyer, or would he have to get like a military lawyer? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, is it some sort of way where he can protect himself if he did like absolutely nothing? Because I totally agree with you where you're saying, like, you know, if he's the one who gave the order, then that's just what it is and he has to take responsibility for it. But if he didn't, like, he had no dealings in this at all, and they're just trying to put it on him, like, how can he protect himself, I wonder?
It's a fair question. I'm not. Let's see. I think I've got Mew. Let me see. I'm going to bring up Iowa. I think maybe Iowa have some information to tell before you leave, Harry Dust.
Okay.
That may be the reason that Iowa requested. Is that why you requested Iowa to answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
go for it.
In this situation.
Good morning, by the way. Good to see you.
Good morning, friend. In this situation, that admiral actually was obligated to deny following that order.
Okay.
So per the USMJ, that with this situation, when that boat was first struck, it became a non-combatant. So it was disabled.
Mm-hmm.
You had wounded people, and per the Geneva Convention, you cannot attack those people. You cannot attack survivors. So therefore, even though he followed that order, he is subject to legality issues because he would have been obligated to deny that because it was an unlawful order.
Right.
So
but that's only if he was the one who gave any of those orders or the second strike or whatever. But I'm saying, like, what if he said like absolutely nothing, like he was just in the room? Would he still be like legally liable for any of this stuff?
Yes. Because
wow.
because of his position as being a general, he knows what is lawful and unlawful. And by staying silent, if that's what is the situation, if he just sat by and let it happen, he is still 100% complicit in this act because he failed to act against it, even though he knew it was an unlawful order.
So that means that anybody who was in that room would fall under this same exact thing, right?
Potentially, yes.
Oh,
so, yeah,
okay.
and to answer your question,
I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you'd asked about legal counsel. Being that he is an officer, a staff officer, flag officer, if you technically, JAG would be representing him.
Okay.
So the military takes care of its own in this case.
Okay.
So do you know if these let's just play this out. If these are determined to be war crimes, would you be eligible for a pardon? Do you know?
I mean, it would be an international situation. So if he gets charged,
violating U.S. law, Geneva Convention, international law, it would be federal. I mean, that's an interesting. I'm not sure. I saw somebody in the chat mention that question. And part two of that, I think maybe Fairduss is referring to General Bradley, who I think Pete Hegseth is referencing here, because it seems like General Bradley was part of the command structure for this operation, right? So I think that's what we're talking about. But it seems to me, from what I heard you say, Iowa, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the room where it happened, so to speak, would be subjected to it. Even if it's a low-ranking officer or an enlisted personnel, would it be anybody who's in the room would be charged potentially?
Potentially, yes, because again, knowing that it's an unlawful order, they are required per their oath to disobey unlawful orders. So again, if you just stood back and let it happen, you're being complicit in, even though you didn't directly follow that order, you allowed it to continue. You are required to stand up and say, no, that's illegal. We cannot do this.
Okay.
So yeah, everybody that's there can be complicit.
Even though that they may not have been able to do anything to stop it, they're still obligated to either stand up and say something, or throw themselves across the desk or whatever. Right.
It could be a lowly staff sergeant. It could be a lowly staff sergeant an E4.
Okay.
But they would be required to stand up and say, General, this is an unlawful order. You know it. We cannot obey this order.
Okay. Okay.
Wow.
And that's part of what we don't know, I guess. That's why it needs to be investigated. Iowa, thank you for that. I really appreciate that breakdown.
Thank you.
Friend. Thanks
Thank you so much for both of you all. Sorry, chat, for taking you on this magical ride.
It's great. I've had the same questions too.
Stuff like this.
Me too. It's a great question. Thank you both for being here. I'm going to drop you guys down. Thanks a lot
Bye.
for both of
Have
you.
a good
I appreciate
day.
it. Thank you. You too. It's a great question, and I think these are the kinds of things that we need to kind of understand. So I just thank you for the person who prompted that question in the chat regarding whether it's pardonable. But this again goes back to the whole leadership paradigm, right? If you are in leadership, then you have the buck has to stop with you. Isn't that what Pete Hegseth sold his entire brand on? The warrior ethos, leadership. President Trump's leadership, they talk about it all the fucking time when things are going well. Now that there's fucking war crimes and or schmurder and or both, now it's somebody else's responsibility. He can pardon Hegseth. What would the pardon be, though? If it's a war crime, that would be international war crimes, right? I don't know. Hold on a second. What do you got, buddy? Hang on one second, guys. The dog is chewing on something. I rescued an UGG. Anyway, if you have leadership responsibilities, then who ultimately is going to take the blame? And in this case, it has to fall to the assistant manager to war crimes. So let's play more of this interview or more of this story from Lawrence O'Donnell. Let's go back to the beginning of Pete Hegseth's statements because I think this tells us all we need to know.
I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat.
Okay, that's the General Bradley reference, meaning that, again, who gave him that authority, right? Who gave him the authority? It's one or two things, Pete. You either did, and that's what the reporting tells us, kill them all, and therefore General Bradley was potentially following an unlawful order, and everybody else involved were following unlawful orders, or they were insubordinate. So is that what's going to be next? Because we'll find out.
Sunk the boat and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back. And the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people.
Thank you to Trish. Trisha says this. Every person has to badge in and out of a skiff. They know unequivocally who was in the room. It's a good point. And then somebody said in the chat, they Googled it. Yes, apparently, a person who's convicted or charged with a war crime can be pardoned. Okay, that's got to be changed.
We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike? Personally.
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire or smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war.
That is not a foggy region of the Caribbean, and Pete Hegseth didn't mention that fog of war when he first talked about it on September 3rd, the day after.
I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Tren de Aragua, a narco-terrorist organization designated by the United States trying to poison our country with illicit drugs.
You can still see that boat after that strike that he was so proud of.
Yeah.
There's nothing preventing you from seeing it.
Correct.
And that's what he said the day after the strike when he was so proud to show that video of that murder.
Correct.
He's lying.
Absolutely correct.
He's lying about who was in the boat. He can't give a single name of who was in the boat. He can't give a single age. He doesn't know if they were all men. He doesn't know if they were all adults. He doesn't know if there was a 12-year-old boy there, a 14-year-old. He has no idea. And he made sure that all the evidence of who was on that boat and what was on that boat was destroyed by his 2 missiles. They are evidence-destroying missiles used in the commission of what appears to be a crime and then used for the cover-up. Use the missiles to make sure you destroy all the evidence. The Washington Post reports the protocols were changed after the strike to emphasize rescuing suspected smugglers if they survived strikes, according to 3 people. It is unclear who directed the change in protocol and when exactly it took shape.
Interesting, right? That they changed the protocol after this happened. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, though, right? Probably just a rounding error.
Yeah. Pentagon's war manual clearly states the requirement to refuse to comply with orders to commit law of war violations applies to orders to perform conduct that is clearly illegal or orders that the subordinate knows, in fact, are illegal. For example, orders to fire upon the shipwrecked would be clearly illegal.
That is in the Department of Defense's fucking manual. Department of Defense Law of War Manual. 18.3.2.1. Clearly illegal orders to commit law of war violation. The requirement to refuse to comply with orders to commit law of war violation applies to orders to perform conduct that is clearly illegal or orders that the subordinate knows, in fact, are illegal. For example, orders to fire upon the shipwrecked would be clearly illegal. In the Department of Defense's fucking manual. I agree, Kipper. It's literally in their fucking manual. It is in the book that Pete likes to refer to, the warrior ethos Bible, so to speak. It's in their fucking book. But of course, just a bit of oversight, right?
The Irons?
Hold on. Commercials.
And so firing on those 2 survivors was illegal when they did it. Why would you have to change a protocol so that it would comply with the Pentagon manual? Quote, orders to fire upon the shipwrecked would be clearly illegal. So there is no doubt, if the Washington Post reporting is true, that the firing of that second missile was illegal, according to the actual words of the Pentagon's own manual. There is now hope for real congressional investigations this year because the Democrats take over the House of Representatives next year, and that conduct will be investigated even further. But right now, the hope for congressional investigations this year depends on the Republican chairs of the House and Senate Armed Services Committees conducting those investigations. And this is what the Senate Republican Armed Services Committee Chairman Roger Wicker said today.
Were there survivors who were killed in that second attack?
I don't have that information.
Do you worry?
But I do think we'll get that information, and we're certainly going to.
Here's the quote. But I do. This is for Senator Wicker. I do think we'll get that information, and we're certainly going to. We're going to have available to us all of the audio and all of the video, and at that point, I'll be able to have a more informed conversation with the press reporter. Do you worry it would be a war crime if the survivors were unalived? Senator Wicker, we're going to find out what the true facts are, and then there'll be a determination about that. So he's trying to play politics here, but you read between the lines, he's like, we need to investigate this shit, because if this is fucking true, we got a big problem here.
To have available to us all of the audio and all of the video. And at that point, I'll be able to have a more informed conversation with the press.
Do you worry it could be a war crime if the survivors were killed?
We're going to find out what the true facts are, and then there'll be a determination about that.
And today, the Washington Post reports that the White House's comments yesterday that it was Admiral Bradley who ordered the second strike, quote, elicited a furious backlash within the Defense Department, where officials described feeling angry at the uncertainty over whether Hegseth would take responsibility for his alleged role in the operation or leave the military and civilian staff under him to face the consequences. This is Protect Pete BS. One military official who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal conversations, told the Post. Press Secretary Leavitt's statement left it up to interpretation who was responsible for the second strike that killed the two survivors, a separate military official said. One official said of Leavitt's statement, it's throwing us, the service members, under the bus. Another person said some of Hegseth's top civilian staff appeared deeply alarmed about the revelations and were contemplating whether to leave the administration.
Pretty damning shit. No matter how you slice and dice it. It's one or the other. It's either, it could be both. It's either a war crime or a murder. Period. There's no way around it. Now, our friends on the right who can't debate, our friends on the right who have no fucking clue how any of this works, keep pointing to the War Powers Act. So your boy did a little bit of just a little bit of research on it because I was curious about the War Powers Act and what it included. The administration says the strikes are justified under the authority of the president, under his constitutional powers as commander-in-chief, and under the laws of armed conflict because the targeted groups have been labeled narco-traffickers. They also contend that these operations do not qualify as hostilities under the War Powers Resolution, which is the key trigger for requiring congressional authorization. According to a senior official, White House official, because the strikes are precise, often using drones or standoff weapons, and don't put U.S. personnel at risk, they fall outside of the legal threshold. The White House reportedly notified Congress in a letter on September the 4th, 2025, triggering the statutory 60-day clock that's formally what the resolution requires. They're past that because we had strikes after the 60-day window. Congress needed to chime in. They've been lying from the beginning. This is the resolution of the War Powers Act. The resolution was passed by Congress to ensure that presidents can't wage military operations indefinitely without congressional consent. It requires that the armed forces be withdrawn after 60 days plus a 30-day withdrawal period unless Congress authorizes continued use. Critics argue the maritime drone strikes do qualify as hostilities, especially since they involve lethal force. Multiple strikes over weeks and repeated use of military resources against people abroad, which matches, arguably, the kind of military activity Congress sought to regulate. Some commentators call the administration's interpretation overly narrow, accusing it of a creative lawyering to circumvent the 60-day limit and avoid congressional oversight. There are also moral and legal objections. Some of the strikes reportedly targeting survivors clinging to wreckage. We obviously know that now from what Pete said because I couldn't see through the fog of war. Or maybe it was a hangover, Pete, raising questions of war crimes or extrajudicial killing under both U.S. and international law. So the issue that we have here, it's one or the other. Either you're claiming this justification under the War Powers Act, which would then require you to have congressional approval past the 60-day window. You've gone past the 60-day window. You did not brief Congress. The Armed Services Committee was not briefed until at the end of October. You went past the fucking window, my guy. So it's either that or you are just indiscriminately using people outside of the War Powers Act because you classified these boats as Tren de Aragua, therefore giving the president authority. So, and here's the thing. This is the thing here. This person needs attention, so let's give him some. So Bear Bear's been chirping. Bear Bear's happy about this. Bear Bear is happy to violate international law. Bear Bear's happy that innocent people could be unalived and civilians because Bear Bear doesn't care about people either. And Bear Bear is probably one of those people who justifies pardoning a drug king because Bear Bear is a hypocritical piece of shit. And Bear Bear knows that. So Bear Bear, this is the chat. Chat, meet Bear Bear. Did the White House file the 48-hour War Powers notification? Multiple reports confirm the The administration sent a war powers letter to Congress around September the 4th, 2025. This started the 60-day clock. Did the administration stop military action when the 60-day clock expired? No. Congressional authority requires it, and withdrawal of U.S. forces is mandatory based on the 60-day window. So again, if you're going down that road that you're protected under the War Powers Act, then why are you still using it? Why are you still booming? The White House argues they're not violating the law because the strikes are not hostilities. Under the WPR, because U.S. personnel are not in danger or danger because of drones and or standoff weapons. Therefore, the 60-day withdrawal requirement allegedly does not apply. The problem with that is that you initiated the War Powers Resolution when you notified Congress 48 hours after it happened. You can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. You literally can't have it both ways. Why legal scholars and now Congress say the WPR was violated? Reason A, lethal force equals hostilities. The WPR definition does not require U.S. troops being shot at. Drone strikes and ongoing lethal operations fall squarely under hostilities. The White House claim it's not hostile because there's no imminent threat. Well, not the letter of the law says, hey, you're using weapons, doesn't require troops. You're using these things, they're lethal, and you're carrying out actions, right? Therefore, yeah, they are hostilities. Reason B, operations have been continuous, not one-offs. Multiple strikes over weeks equals sustained military engagement. Again, WPR violation. Reason C, the 60-day limit is absolute once the president invokes the WPR. Because the administration filed the War Powers Act letter, they triggered the fucking law and cannot later claim the law doesn't apply. I made that point earlier. Congress is formally attempting to block the operation. A bipartisan War Powers Resolution has already been introduced to end the strikes, which only happens when Congress believes the law is being violated. This is where Congress needs to show that they are still the most important branch in our government. You can't have it both ways. You cannot sit there and say that, from Mike Johnson's perspective, he cares about Article 1 and Article 2. He cares about Congress's role. He doesn't give a fuck. Violating the fucking law. That's what this comes down to. Potentially innocent people unalived. Even if they weren't. Even if they let's pull the thread. Even if they were narco-terrorists, they are still protected under international law. And we know that many, many people in this app don't give a fuck about the Geneva Convention, which again tells you everything you need to know about people. Literally tells you everything you need to know. Okay? Everything you need to know. I don't care about survivors. I don't care about POWs. I don't care about people who are, non-enemy combatants, pose no threat. I don't care. You just want to kill them all. The kill them all reporting and survivor targeting makes the legal case worse for them. Allegations from intelligence and military officials that suggest survivors were targeted, orders may have exceeded the law of armed conflict, and some strikes may not have been against legitimate combatants. All undermine the administration's claim that this is a lawful armed conflict exempt from WPR limits. This is why some analysts are arguing potential violations of both U.S. law and international humanitarian law exist. The administration did follow the War Powers Act's initial requirement, which is a 48-hour notification. The administration is not complying with the 60-day limit. They're the ones that initiated it. Remember, they sent the letter under the WPR. That starts the clock, September the 4th. Therefore, it would expire on November the 4th, roughly. They continued past that. They can't claim both. You can't say, oh yeah, we initiated this properly, but now we're violating it. Which is it? The Caribbean boat strikes almost certainly violate the War Powers Resolution as it's written. The only legal defense the administration has is the very narrow, these are not hostilities, which Congress, most legal scholars, and past OLC precedents have rejected. So I don't know where they think they're going to skirt around this. So here's the timing. Mid-August, U.S. begins deploying warships and personnel into the Caribbean in support of anti-narco operations. This is reported by Reuters and ProPublica. September the 1st or the 2nd, first strike on a Venezuelan boat in the Southern Caribbean, 11 unalive. Trump publicly announces it on September 2nd and posts the video. That strike is the one that we've been discussing. That's the strike that Pete Hegseth on Fox said, oh yeah, I saw the whole thing initially, and then he said he didn't see it. And that's where they did the double tap. So that's the first strike that we're talking about here. September 4, War Powers Resolution report sent to Congress. The September 2nd strike and the explicitly citing the War Powers Resolution. This is classic 4A-1 report, which almost all serious analysts agree starts the 60-day clock. September 4th, the clock started. September 15th, second strike, unaliving 3. September the 18th, Tim Kaine and Adam Schiff and others introduce a Senate War Powers Resolution, Senate Resolution 83, to block further boat strikes without congressional authorization. September, again, 2 Democrats. September the 19th, third strike, unaliving 3. September 23rd, House Democrats introduce a House WPR resolution, House Resolution 51, to stop strikes attacks on Venezuela without authorization. October 1st to 2nd, behind closed doors, DOD lawyers tell Congress the president has declared a non-international armed conflict, or NIAC, with designated cartels and that smugglers are, quote, unlawful combatants. An NIAC notification goes to Congress under separate statutes, 50 U.S. Code 1543A. October 3rd onward, a series of additional strikes on the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, for example, in the Caribbean, and later the Eastern Pacific. At least 17 to 18 vessels were hit and dozens unalive by early November. October 8th, Senate vote to advance the Kaine-Schiff World Powers Resolution fails. Senate majority, the Republicans hold the majority in the Senate. It failed 48 to 51. Rand Paul joined the Democrats. Okay? Rand Paul joined the Democrats. Again, we want Congress to do its job. And 51 Republicans said, we don't give a shit about people being unalived unlawfully in the Caribbean. Okay. Mid to late October, carrier strike group moved into the Caribbean. More strikes. Survivors from one strike are detained and repatriated. Why wouldn't others be? Interesting. Carrier strike group moved to the Caribbean. More strikes. Survivors from one strike are detained and repatriated. Early November, the administration privately tells Congress that the WPA doesn't apply because the boat strikes are non-hostilities, no U.S. troops under fire, standoff weapons only. They've now passed the 60-day window. So they address it, say, oh yeah, well, we told you we were going to send you this. We did it, but now, no. November the 18th, House Democrat ranking members Meeks, Adam Smith, Jim Himes, Thompson, Crow, and Omar introduce a new War Powers Resolution to block the boat strikes and argue they have been going on for more than 60 days without congressional authorizations, which is true. And then as of yesterday, Reuters AP Time reported at least 19 strikes, 80 deaths, including a follow-up strike on survivors in the water on September 2nd, the second strike double tap controversy. This is how the clocks, as it relates specifically to the War Powers Act. President must notify Congress within 48 hours. They did that. 60-day time limit. As soon as they submit their letter to Congress, kicks off. They have violated that. So once again, it's one or the other. You can't submit your request to Congress to say, I'm following the Constitution, I'm following the law that requires me to notify you within 48 hours of military use. They did that. That starts the clock. 60 days. At that point, 60 days, Congress has to approve. And at that point, when Congress attempts to approve it, the administration says, oh, don't worry, we're just going to change the rules. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. So they are violating the fucking law, and our truth tellers on the right don't give a fuck. Just don't care. Never again are you ever allowed to say that you care about law and order. Never again are you allowed to say that you care about humanity. Never again are you allowed to say that you care about the military, because you don't. Because you don't. You don't give a fuck. You're going to celebrate. You're going to celebrate a flag officer and anybody else that was in the room where it happens You're going to celebrate them being found guilty of war crimes. And what are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? Bear, if you need some attention, Cupcake, just get in the box so we can have this conversation so you don't have to chirp from the cheap seats, okay? Just get in the box. It'll be really simple. Maybe you're the one mediocre MAGA man who can have a conversation without crashing out inside of 5 seconds. Probably not, but we'll try. Just proving that I'll talk to anybody. I don't know how people can just be sitting here justifying this bullshit. Especially the no new wars crowd. Right? You don't want to see you don't want to see taxpayer dollars being spent. Okay. If Congress passes a war powers blocking resolution, 5C of the WPRs lets Congress direct the president to remove forces by passing a concurrent resolution. No presidential signature required. After the Supreme Court said, back up a second. As of today, a concurrent resolution is still on the books, but constitutionally shaky. Presidents routinely ignore it. So you're good with that, MAGA, right? To be binding, Congress must pass a bill or joint resolution, both houses, plus the presentment to the president, which can direct removal of forces using expedited procedures described in the War Powers Resolution. In the current bulk strike Senate Kane Schiff Paul bill, and in the House, it's Meeks, Smith, Himes, Thompson, Crow, and Omar. So there are two War Powers resolutions, concurrent resolutions to stop this illegal behavior. Where are the Republicans? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? I'd like to know. If you truly say that you want to follow the law, if you claim to be the party of law and order, then where are they? Do you notice how Bear just ran away? Yeah, I figured he would. Why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult to just be fucking honest? Oh, cool. So Bear, you're happy with people getting unalived?
No.
You just said you're cheering for. You said more boom booms. So that would seem like you're happy about it.
Well, if they're going to traffic drugs into the United States of America, they need to be boom boomed.
Well, how do you know they were doing that?
Because I can see that they're doing it. Do you have eyes?
No, I'm asking.
Wait, let me ask you. Is it okay for them to bring it? If it is, can they bring it into the United States? Are you okay with it?
Honey, slow down a second.
Okay, honey. All right, honey, sweetie.
How do you know? How do you know they were trafficking schmugs into the United States? How do you know that?
Are you insane?
I'm
asking. You think they're just running around killing people? Boom boom people.
How do you? I'm asking for some critical thought. Okay. How do you know?
Because of the intelligence that our United States gets and has.
What intelligence? From whom?
I don't know. I don't know who it comes from.
So where were those boats when they were boom boomed?
International waters.
How far away from U.S. shores were they?
Does it matter?
It kind of does. How far away from U.S. shores were they?
Does it matter?
If you don't know the answer, just say, I don't know.
I don't know.
1,200 miles away.
Okay.
Those boats, do you know what kind of boats they were?
They weren't fishing boats.
How do you know?
I know what a fishing boat is, and I know what that boat was. I don't know. That wasn't a fishing boat. I know that.
Okay, so you don't know for sure.
I do know that it wasn't a fishing boat. I know that it wasn't a fishing boat.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
No, you don't know.
You don't know what I know. I don't know what you know, but you don't know what I know.
Well, okay, but so I'm a bit more informed on this subject than you are, and even I don't know if they were fishing boats.
Exactly. So you don't know what it was. But the government knew what it was.
But neither do you. But you don't.
The government did. That's all that matters.
But Bear. So what you're saying is that you trust the government's. You trust the government on this, right?
I don't trust the government. No, I don't.
Okay, so then how do you know it was a fishing boat?
Because I know what a fishing boat looks like, and that was not a fishing boat.
Anyway, do you know that those boats cannot make it to the United States without refueling?
And you don't think they'll get refueled before they get to the United States, or they transfer it to something that will get to the United States?
Where would they get refueled?
I don't know.
So you don't know anything.
Oh, I know a lot, but I don't know where they're going to meet transports and transfer the smugs into another vehicle to get to the United States. But they are known by the government to be coming to the United States.
Okay, so you trust the government.
Do you think it's okay if they do make it to the United States and they keep bringing all those smugs into the United States, killing all the people in the United States? Are you okay with that, man? If you are okay with that, you're just as bad as they are.
Don't crash.
I'm not crashing. Crash out. I'm telling you that you're just as bad as they are if you're okay with drugs being smuggled.
You're crashing. Why are you crashing? Don't crash.
Why are you crashing? On here every day crying.
I'm not crashing. You're the one who's crashing.
You crash every day when you get on here crying.
Okay, so
you cry every day like a little boy.
So you're
like a little boy.
Right. So you can't have a conversation. I
can't have a conversation.
Then stop whining.
All right, let's have a conversation, bro.
Okay, so here's the thing. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we want this to be investigated. Now, let me ask you this question. If it is proven true that the law was broken and non-enemy combatants and or survivors were unalived, who should be held responsible?
I don't know. Who do you think should be held responsible?
I'm asking you to make a point. I'm asking you a specific question, okay? If it is proven true that there were war crimes committed and civilians and or non-enemy combatants and or shipwreck survivors, which, by the way, if those things did happen, that would be violation of international law and the Geneva Convention, who should be held responsible?
I think whoever pulled the trigger. That's who.
Okay, so then Pete Hegseth has lied multiple times because you said earlier you trust the government. So he's lied multiple times. So which story should we believe?
You know what? I think you're onto something, man.
Can you answer the question?
I think you're onto something. Maybe they should lock somebody up, right?
Like who?
Pete.
So do you think he's responsible?
Man, I don't know who's responsible.
Well,
I do know that they're trying to stop.
Right. Okay. So we'll go there in a second. This is my point, right? This is my point. You don't seem to know a lot about this, but you've got strong opinions about it.
I do have all the smugs that are being brought into the United States needs to stop. And if that's what it has to be to stop it, that's what it will be.
Okay. Even if innocent people are being unalived,
then somebody needs to pay.
Who? Like who?
I just said who. We just had this conversation. Okay. I just said the name.
So you care about schmugs being smuggled into the U.S. is what you're saying?
No, I don't want them being brought here.
No, you care, but it's important to you. You don't want them brought here.
Yes, because it kills way more people than the few, whatever you want to call them, being.
Got it. I got it. So explain to me then why the president pardoned an actual drug trafficker who trafficked 400,000 metric tons of cocaine into our country. Explain that to me.
I don't know. You're going to have to ask him, man.
I'm asking you to have
I don't
an
know
opinion.
What's in his head. I can't answer for somebody else.
I'm asking you to have an opinion, okay? I'm not asking you to get inside the head of the president.
No, you just asked me to answer for somebody else, and I can't do that.
I am asking you for your opinion. I'm asking
my
you
opinion.
For your
I've already
opinion.
given you my opinion. I think it's bad to be bringing drugs into the United States of America.
Okay.
And whatever it takes to stop it needs to be done.
Okay, great. I got that. So now I'm asking your opinion on what you think. Why did the president, if that's what you care about, and you care about schmugs being smuggled into the country, I'm asking for your opinion on why the president pardoned someone who's actually been convicted for drug trafficking. 400,000 metric tons.
You just asked me to answer for someone else again, and I can't do that.
No, I'm asking for your opinion on it. If you care about drugs so much, what is your opinion on why the president pardoned him?
So you are again asking me to tell you what I believe he thinks, and I don't know what he thinks.
I'm asking. Do you know what an opinion is?
I know what an opinion is.
Okay, so what's your opinion on gambling in sports?
On what?
Gambling in sports. What's your opinion on gambling in sports?
I think it's bad.
Okay, what's your opinion on Christmas music starting in September?
I think it's good.
Cool. What's your opinion on Donald Trump pardoning a drug trafficker?
I don't know. I don't know all the facts. So how can I have an opinion if I don't know all the facts?
See what I mean? You're a simp, man. You're in the fucking cult.
No, I'm not, man. You asked me about Christmas music. Well, I can tell you that because I have a feeling about Christmas music. I can't tell you what I think.
Right. So you don't have an opinion. So you have it. So you're capable of offering an opinion, right?
Yes, I can.
You've expressed that. Okay. So all I am asking for you, if you truly care about the war on drugs and you don't want drugs smuggled into the country, and you don't want that. So I'm asking you for your opinion on an actual convicted drug trafficker being pardoned. I'm asking for your opinion on that.
I think that if for some reason it was a good decision to make, I think it was good. If it was a bad decision, I think we'll all find out. I don't know.
So you're in a cult. Got it. Good to know.
Like you are.
Yep. Oh my God. Wow. That's fucking wild. Holy shit.
Good morning. I just want to say,
Puppy. How are you?
I'm quite all right. I watch you every morning. I enjoy your show. You're doing amazing work. Don't let these people get to you. I just wanted to come up here and state a couple of facts for the last test. Did you know, sir, that it's a fact that according to the United States Sentencing Commission, 80% of drug traffickers are United States citizens?
I did know that, as a matter of fact. Yes.
Well, I was talking to that fella, the last guest, because he seems to think that all traffickers just need to be boom boom. So are you okay with American citizens being boom boom? Because they're 80% of the problem.
Yeah, and I think the numbers are even higher than that. Last I looked, it was like close to 90%, especially when it comes to Fenty. The overwhelming majority of Fenty smuggled into our country is by U.S. citizens. Reports.
Yeah,
correct.
That's
Exactly.
The 2024 number. Yep. So you're all upset and up in arms about, drug traffickers and such, and they should be boom boomed. Well, you're advocating to boom boom 80% of United States citizens. So
correct.
That's it. That's all.
Hypocrisy. Yep. I appreciate that, friend. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you very much. Have a good day. Be safe out there. It was just an exercise, right? The reason I asked him about gambling in sports, the reason I asked him about Christmas music is it could prove that he can have an opinion on something. But when you are so up the fucking nose, Bear, this is for you. When you are so far up the nose of this guy, you can't even offer an opinion. Because as soon as you offered your opinion, exactly, political mom, thank you, go Patriots, best team in the NFL. Everybody's going to hate that. As soon as you offer your opinion, it's going to prove your hypocrisy. Because you came in here hot, 10 toes down. Don't want schmugs smuggle into our country. Neither do we. As soon as you're asked about why then did our president pardon an actual drug trafficker? And you don't have an opinion about that. Because if you said you care about drugs coming into the country, then you should be fucking angry. But you couldn't do that, could you? You couldn't do that. It's so wild. Like, why would you not be able to make a stand? Sad. So sad. So sad. But that tells you all we need to know, and people saw you for the hypocrite you are. Why wouldn't you just stand 10 toes down and say, because listen, you're going to find support from people on the left, people in the middle, people on the right, saying, we don't want drugs smuggled into our country. We have a problem in our country. There's no doubt about it. We have a problem. We have a problem with it. We support it. We don't think that extrajudicial, whatever the term is, unalivings in the middle of the fucking ocean, that's against the fucking law. that's like against, that violates war crimes. But you were chirping from the chat saying boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. Great. So then you have a lot of opinions on drug trafficking, but you couldn't offer up one? See, and you're still chirping, bro. We just exposed you. Why are you even still here? We just exposed you for the hypocrite that you are. We see you. We know you're in the cult. We see you. Stand for something, man. Fucking stands for something. Prove to people that you've got a fucking backbone instead of jellyfish like this guy. Stand for something. You can't. You can't stand for something. You literally have no fucking identity other than what the orange shit stain tells you. God damn. How embarrassing. How fucking embarrassing for you. It's wild. You think you're
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
You're not. Hey, bro. How's it going?
Hey, it's been a while. I just want to come up, and without saying too much about how I know this, for some reason, these people seem to think that if we stop smugs from coming into this country, let's just say all drugs were stopped being smuggled into this country, I think they forget why we import smugs into this country. Do you know why we import smugs into this country, Steve?
Consumer demand.
No, because it's cheaper.
Oh,
it's
well,
cheaper.
Sure,
It's cheaper to get it
all the
in
money.
than do it here. So even if you stopped all the smugs from coming into this country, they will still have smugs in this country. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because we can make some of the same stuff that we smuggle in right here. It's just cheaper to get it from over there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying, of course.
What if he would have pardoned El Chapo?
Well, he brought his family in. El Chapo's family's here now. They get a pass.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And think about this. With any kind of crime syndicate, the person who you think is at the top of that food chain that everybody knows about is not at the top of that food chain. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So El Chapo was the face of what's coming across the border in Mexico. But there's somebody else that's bigger than he is.
Yeah, I mean that's what investigation does, right? You start with a street corner dealer, you work up to the wholesaler, you work up to the middleman.
Absolutely.
That's how it works. That's how you take down organized crime. That's what you do. That's why you investigate. That's what you do. And here we are, people that are so pathetically indoctrinated into the cult. They can't even have an opinion on that because it exposes them. But I appreciate you jumping in today, friend. It's always good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, you called him out right on the money, and I want to thank you for that because you really kind of shut him up. He was rolling there, and when you asked him that, he couldn't answer that. So great questioning there. You should have been a detective interrogator there, Steve.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe.
All right,
out there,
man.
friend.
Hey, good luck.
Appreciate you.
Happy
See you
holidays
later.
too.
All right, you too. You too. Thanks a lot. Again, it's all we're asking for. All we're asking for is this should be easy for you. Mega, this should be an easy one. This should be fucking simple. You cannot sit there and have strong opinions on trafficking, even though, to our previous guest, thank you, pointing out that the overwhelming majority of illicit substances that are smuggled into our country come on the backs of American citizens through ports of entry, airports, highway ports of entry, etc. Overwhelming majority of Fenty. Not even, it's like 80% plus. Okay? Those boats in the Caribbean, think about the stretch that he went through. I'm sure that they're refueling stops along the way. Right. The very likelihood, based on the route that they were going to, they're going to Trinidad and Tobago. That's where they were going. That's where these boats were going to. Okay? That's it. That's where they were going. Period. They weren't coming to the U.S. There's no fucking evidence of it at all. There's no evidence that they were fishing boats or not fishing boats. They're not big enough. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we just exposed you. But you don't care because you're in the cult. You don't give a shit. You just don't fucking care. Like, hi, Kat. How are you?
Oh, hi. Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I don't want to beat a dead horse there with this guy, but listening to him, he has an opinion on quite literally everything. These people have an opinion on everything, but they can't have an opinion on a smuggler. It blows my mind a little bit. And the conversations I've been having with certain people here lately, it just continues to blow my mind, and it's hard to understand. So I appreciate every one of you guys up here that do this all day long, because it's exhausting. So
well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
I listen to you very often. I am driving around. I work graveyard. Like, there's multiple times where I listen to you and all these other creators, and I just appreciate you so very much, because you're a light. You know, you're a light in this crazy, crazy world we're in.
Thank you for saying that, Kat. I appreciate you very much. And thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there, okay?
You too.
You got it. Bye-bye. Thanks. PB Blue, can you please come up and talk to me? Because you asked an interesting question. You asked a fair question, but I'd like to have that conversation. So if you wouldn't mind requesting PB, I can send you an invite as soon as I can find you. Or Maz, if you can find him, then send an invite, please, to PB Blue. Because you asked a question, and the question you asked was, what's wrong with hitting the boats? I'd like to have that conversation. Maybe you are genuinely questioning it. Maybe you are asking yourself, like, I don't see what the problem is. So let's have that conversation. Are you courageous enough to request? It's really simple. Just want to know, are you courageous enough to request? I don't bite. I nibble. Okay? So we can have that conversation if you'd like to. By the way, friends, like I said, we are crowd-funded here. If you want to help us hit that goal, you could do so, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. So PB, is that a sincere question? Like, what's wrong with hitting the boats?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what's the issue with going after the boats.
Okay. Do you know? Do we have all the evidence of who was on the boats?
No.
Okay. So then, let me ask you a question. Honestly speaking, should we just be targeting boats when we don't know all of the people that are involved?
Yeah, but haven't we been targeting these boats for years? Even when
let's stay on this topic. Okay, let's stay on this topic, because we're talking. All we can do is we can make comparisons to everything. I'm asking you to focus on this. Focus on this. Okay. Are you okay? Do you have the ability to offer opinions on things?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
I'm just asking. Okay. So what I'm asking for is, I'm asking for your opinion on what can be argued can be war crimes. And the reason that we think of it that way is because you can't just be targeting civilians and or non-enemy combatants in the water. We now know that happened. We now know that there were people hanging on the side of the boat, and another missile came and took them out. Are you okay with that?
Not with that situation, no.
Okay, but that's what happened. So what should happen to Pete Hegseth in this case?
I think there should be an internal investigation.
Right. And should he be held accountable?
Well, we got to look at all the facts. Am I right? You got to look at the facts.
I agree. We have to investigate it. So then, to use your logic there, friend, right? To use your logic, shouldn't we have had all the facts before we attack these boats?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but we didn't. We know we didn't, because even in the intelligence briefing, the people who need to be notified, members of Congress, didn't even have all the information. So it looks to me, again, objectively speaking, it looks to me that these boats were targeted without having all the information. Can we draw that conclusion, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then you don't support that, do you?
No.
Okay. So are you concerned about the war on drugs?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been having issues across the board. Yeah, I mean, since the 70s and 80s.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we have a problem in our country. A lot of it has to do with consumption. A lot of it has to do with the opioid, the pharmaceutical industry. So you care about that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you vote for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so then I would like your opinion. If you care so much about the war on drugs, I would like your opinion as to why he pardoned an actual drug trafficker who's responsible for bringing 400,000 metric tons of schmocaine into our country. I'd like your opinion on that.
I didn't read up on that, so I don't know anything about that. I didn't hear anything.
Okay, well, he pardoned him. He pardoned him. He was released from jail yesterday. Okay, so I'm asking your opinion on that, please.
Like I said, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about it. So.
Okay, I'm telling you about it now. Okay, I'm telling you about it now. All right. Okay.
Well, what is the reason why? What is the reason why he pardoned him?
That's why I'm asking you the question. If you care, so don't forget, for the last couple of days, all we've been hearing from the administration for a long time is we've got to go after traffickers, we've got to go after the drug dealers, we've got to go after the narco terrorists, all these kinds of things, right? All these things. You've heard that from the president, right?
I've heard that, yes.
Cool. So the justification that they're attempting to use is they're going after the sources. They're going after the narco terrorists. They're going after the traffickers. They're going after all these individuals. That's been their justification for taking out these boats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if they're so concerned about trafficking, then why, again, I'm asking your opinion, why would the president have pardoned a person who has been convicted? Again, with evidence, not like what we have, you and I just discussed. We didn't have all the evidence in the Caribbean. We've got the evidence because this person went to jail, was serving a 45-year sentence, and the president pardoned him. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know really anything about it, the pardoning stuff. But my thing is, like, is there a bigger thing to maybe, what do they call it? Trying to think of, is there a bigger issue on top of that? Maybe they want to use him for something.
Okay, but listen, man. Let's just listen for a second. So you're a Trump voter. So this is the problem that we have, right, with a lot of people who are Trump voters. It seems to me that it's just difficult for you guys to criticize him at all. So let me ask you the question. Do you remember when what was your opinion on Joe Biden pardoning a massive drug trafficker?
Like I said, I don't know anything about him pardoning. Like I said, I don't know anything about it though.
Do you think Joe Biden should have pardoned drug traffickers?
No, I don't think anybody should be pardoned for drug trafficking.
Okay, cool. So Donald Trump pardoned a drug trafficker. By the way, I kind of set you up a little bit because that didn't happen under the Biden administration. But so you just had an opinion because I brought Biden into it. So now you've got to say that the president of the United States should not have pardoned a drug dealer, correct?
True, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So what are you going to do about that?
Like I said, we need to look more into it as us being.
Well, wait a second. Wait. You had a strong opinion when I brought Biden's name into it. Yeah. I want you to have the same strong opinion on Donald Trump. Okay, so then what are you going to do about it? Are you going to speak out about it?
I would speak about it if I was able to talk to President Trump. I'd ask him why did he pardon him? What's the issue for the pardon?
Okay, say for example, so now that it's happened, right? So that it doesn't sound like you're a fan of him doing that, right?
No.
Okay, so then if he were able to run for re-election again, would you still vote for him?
No.
Really? Why?
Well, I know he can't run for a third term.
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked.
Know. I just
hold on. If he were eligible to run for the office again, would you still vote for him?
No.
Why?
I think 8 years is enough for president on both sides.
So you're just concerned about the time frame. You're not concerned about the corruption or the criminality.
The corruption and criminality stuff that will come out later on down the road. But I'm just,
but it's
I don't think.
happening right in front of us. But it's happening right in front of us.
No, we'd have to, like I said, we have to look more into it.
Do you think so? When people on my side of the aisle, when we criticize folks that are Trump supporters, this is kind of why. It just seems so hard for you guys to be critical. Like, do you think the president's been set up? Do you think it's lawfare? Do you think it's weaponization of government against him?
I think every president gets set up from the Congress.
I'm not talking about every president. I'm not, again, my friend, I'm trying to have a real sincere conversation with you. I want you to, I want you to think that Donald Trump's been the only president we've ever had. I'm asking you about him specifically. Do you think that there was lawfare or weaponization of government against him?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, why?
I think there's just been rhetoric from both sides. I mean, going after each other.
Okay, but why though? But why? So give me an example of what you think is lawfare against the president.
Well, I would say that the hatred words, the disgust,
hatred.
Yeah.
So words. So
yeah.
Words. So when the president used the R slur, do you know what I mean when I say the R slur?
You mean grape?
No, that you would say grape. When somebody is I don't know the proper term when
MRD.
The R slur.
I know what you're talking about.
No, the R slur when you say with somebody would be of special needs, someone who might have Down syndrome. Do you use a particular derogatory term? You know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah.
Okay. The president used the R slur in a Truth Social post. Are you okay with that?
I didn't honestly. I didn't see it, so
I'm not okay. Will you take my word for it that he used it?
I don't know. It's your opinion. It's your facts. Versus
it's not my opinion. It's not my opinion. He used the word. He referred to Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, as the R slur. Okay, it's in a Truth Social post. Okay. So I'm asking you, is that okay for the president to do?
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
So, the president of the United States using the R slur, which, by the way, because there are millions of Americans in our country who are developmentally challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could be in a conservative family, could be an independent family, could be in a Democratic family? How can it just be, I shouldn't have done that? Shouldn't you be angry about that?
There's other things we have to be angry about besides words.
You don't care about a derogatory term towards people who have done nothing other than just live?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. That's unfortunate. I know, right, Sam? So close, but so far. If I were to psychoanalyze that a little bit, what I would say is they just don't think it's a big deal. That it's just words. That's just words. We have more important things. They're just words. Okay. That was tiring.
Buddy, you have the mental and emotional stamina of, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I just wanted to hop in here real quick, if I could, and just press upon the point that the reason your last two guests have confirmed it for this, what I'm about to say, and that is wherever these people are consuming their information regarding politics, if they consume any at all, it is a source that is never critical. They never talk about the horrible and heinous, unconstitutional, unlawful shit that Trump does and says. And so when we bring it up to them, they don't have an opinion. It's not necessarily that they can't be critical of them, in my opinion. It's because they don't know anything about the subject matter. And that is I've been trying to teach media literacy on my platform because we've got to get a handle on these numbskulls, these politically ignorant and gullible dipshits that think that they're politically, engaged, and they're just being led around by the nose by the biggest con artist in U.S. freaking history, if not the world history. So I just really would if you're still in here, MAGA, please, for the love of God, start fact-checking your boy. You need to start becoming more engaged about what your media isn't telling you. And then maybe you'll understand why the fuck we're outraged. All right? So that's all I really had to say. I love you, friend.
I love you too, Fred. That's a great point. Thanks for being here. I
Take care
appreciate
now.
you. Talk to you
Y'all
later.
have a great
All
day.
right,
Bye-bye.
You too. I mean, you guys know I talk about this shit all the time. Fucking media literacy. Absolutely. It's a fair point. But I think, Sharon, due respect, I think two things can be true. I think two things can be true, even if presented with the information. But because they're so loyal to Donald Trump, it wouldn't matter anyway. It's just like, yeah, exactly, Ash. That's a good point. I like that headline. Did your news tell you this? I've spent hours going through the media literacy elements and the breakdown of the power of Fox News. We've done the exam twice here, the difference between propaganda, disinformation, misinformation, and the chat did a lot better the second time when you guys started thinking about it. Remember, propaganda, disinformation, misinformation. They get all mixed up, but disinformation is intentionally misleading. Misinformation is when somebody believes with the disinformation and they spread it unintentionally. It's just such a wild thing. We have these we have these conversations and there's just an unwillingness for people to just lean in and have an opinion. It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't be. Just have an opinion. That's why we ask questions. What do you stand for? Good morning, Fred. How are you today?
It really doesn't, in my opinion.
Fred, are you there?
With the government to release
I'm good, but thanks though. Appreciate it. Whatever the fuck that was. Maybe I was being serenaded. Oh, that's sweet. Thanks. I appreciate you. We could have a duet. We'll kick Mr. Nice Guy and whoever else it was out of the throuple, and you can take a seat. Bring your guitar, right? Just a weird thing. It's just weird. Strange. Good morning, dirty bad bloggers.
I just wanted to make one point. That one guest that you just had was upset, or he said the words that we used to describe Tim Walz was not a big deal. But when you asked him why you thought Trump was persecuted, he said that was because of all the words and all the terrible things we say about him. So, how can none of that make sense?
It doesn't make sense. That's exactly the point. Good call out. I appreciate you very much for being here. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Be safe. You got it. Take care. It's a great point, right? Damn. Those conversations are the kind of conversations I want to have, but they're exhausting. They're exhausting. It's just like, we're getting there. We're moving down the road. Why is it that conservatives cannot have opinions? I have lots. I have lots. Why can't Trump voters have an opinion? Why can't you just have an opinion about something? And I think Sharon was right? Obviously, you're not privy to all this information because you mainline the rhetoric, right? You mainline the fact that it's Democrats. It just fought this or Obama, Biden, instead of focusing on what's actually happened. Instead of focusing on what actually happened, right? That's the important part. I can talk about what happened, and let's discuss what happened. Then I'll ask you for your opinion. It shouldn't be that hard. And I don't know why it seems to be so difficult. Calorie, how are you this morning?
Hold on, big guy. I'm in a headset. I can't hear you, so hold on a second, if you will. My apologies.
No problem. We got a lot of background noise too. You there, friend?
Ready. I'm here.
Hello? Bro, I muted your mic. Can you fix your sound so we can have a conversation or not? Can I mute?
Hello? I can't hear you, but regardless, what
Bro,
I'll say,
my guy, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You have a really bad mic. I'm not sure what the situation is, but can you just take your headset off and just talk into your phone so I can hear you, please? What are we doing? Going once. Going twice. I'm going to fix your sound, bro, and have a conversation, or do you not? Okay. Request again. Clean up your audio. Be an adult.
Hey, Steve.
Are you going to rub it in again, being in a tropical climate?
To be fair, it is cloudy today in Barbados, but I'm in Barbados, so
whatever.
So I was listening earlier, and one of the things I wanted to bring up was a lot of people don't talk about the fact that Hegseth fired the top JAG of the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force because they were roadblocks to the administration, i.e., we want to do unlawful things and we don't want people to stop us. And that's something that not a lot of people have brought up, right? But great show today. I was listening while I was, getting ready this morning. But I just wanted to plug that real quick.
It's a really good point. I appreciate you bringing that up, friend. Thank you very much. Enjoy your vacation. Yeah. We hate you. Not really, but we do kind of. See you later. Take care, brother. All right, bye. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah, he literally fired all the top leaders in JAG. Right? What was the show? There was a show called JAG, wasn't there? Yeah, there was. What are you supposed to do with that? We don't want anybody watching. Listen, don't forget, they eliminated numerous press positions within the Pentagon. They only want loyalists. Everything that gets reported to the Pentagon has to go through the approval of the assistant manager to war crimes. That's one side of it. And then anybody who would potentially prosecute any corruption, they get fired. So that tracks. That totally fucking tracks. All right. Bring up Mew. Good. Yeah, Nanya's got no opinion either. Hey, Mew. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I don't know if anybody in here watches Legal Eagle on YouTube, but he actually broke down this week over 200 laws that Trump has broken. And he also requests for people, if he missed any, leave him a comment. But over 200 plus. That's
just lovely. Just absolutely lovely. We just love that. He's so awesome. He's such the leader. He's such a great leader. Yeah.
Every day it's just worse and worse.
I know. Thanks for jumping in today. Steve. I appreciate you. You got it. See you later.
Have a good day.
Bye. You too. Trisha, thank you. Once they investigate, we'll know for sure if they had intel over Ruggs being on the boat and what the intentions of the mission were. Exactly. We have to investigate. Let me adjust this. Friends, if you're in here and you got a couple and you want to help us hit the goal, we'd appreciate that. Never expected, always appreciated. Thank you so very much. Let me bring this up. Bring up Ann. And think about what we've seen today. We'll talk about that in just a second as soon as I give Ann a chance to speak to us. Good morning, Ann. How are you? Ann, are you there?
Hey,
hello,
how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to say, I think the reason a lot of these people can't give an opinion is because they see their quote heroes, the politicians on TV executing plausible deniability, and nobody calls them out for it. Mike Johnson can sit there and say he doesn't know what's going on, he hasn't read this, or he hasn't seen that video, or he hasn't read that tweet from the president, and so he can just deny. Trump does the same thing. Hegseth does the same thing. And so nobody is calling those people out for it. So they think that they can do the same and get away with it.
It's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really, because no one presses them on it, or what's worse, when they do get pressed, the president and other people in the administration just say fake news.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good point. You're right. Thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
Have a good day.
You too. See you later. Real quick, guys. Thanks, Tiff, for finding this. November private payrolls unexpectedly fell by 32,000 jobs, led by steep small business job cuts. The U.S. labor market slowdown intensified in November as private companies cut 32,000 workers, with small businesses hit the hardest. Payrolls processing from ADP reported on Wednesday. Larger businesses entailing companies with 50 or more employees actually reported a net gain of 90,000 workers. However, establishments with fewer than 50 saw a decline of 120,000 jobs. Once again, more job losses. And that's just one payroll company. And we have to rely on the ADP now because the administration does not want the BLS stats to come out. I agree, Kipper. Get a job. You, go get a job. Hey, come here, doggy. Go get a job. Go do something. Go earn your keep. But again, nothing to see here. The economy's in shambles. Our administration is committing war crimes. We got Donald Trump, who's on the Schmepstein list, who's protecting fucking predators. Congress is fucking chaotic. We're not going to get the healthcare subsidies extended by the end of December. But yeah, all this winning, right? Yeah, all this fucking winning. Makes perfect sense. All this winning. I can't wait. There's so much winning. I can't even keep track of it. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. Hi. Somebody touched on something earlier about where we all get our news. And what I am seeing in daily conversations with people, what I watch on your show is there's a fundamental break in where one half of the population of this country gets their news and where the other half gets theirs. And there's a group that I stumbled upon that I hope everybody looks up. It's called the News Literacy Project. And they are trying to get it taught in every high school in the United States. I think it's a nonprofit. And I hope everybody who's listening can look this up and get their newsletter. But they teach through you get it approved through the teachers at the school, and then they will create a course to teach kids in high school, which is where it should start, on how to decipher misinformation, disinformation, things like that. And I feel like that might be the only way we get our society back on track for the future, because right now I have discussions with people and they look at me like I'm crazy when I bring up all the stuff that Trump or Hegseth or whatever they're doing, because they're just not getting it. The algorithms of social media, how it just feeds you certain things, that needs to be somewhat regulated, I think. But anyway, that's where I see like a fundamental problem in our society. I long for the day where we all got our news at 6:30 from Dan Rather or Walter Cronkite. Dating myself.
That's the way it is. Yeah, no, I agree. No, I it's funny you say that because I have an entire curriculum built that I if I were ever to change careers again and go back to your point, I'd started middle school. I'd start a little bit earlier so they can blend and learn. I have an entire curriculum about media literacy. I would literally, is part of my desire to overfund public education is to literally build curriculum around what you're talking about. And I've got the whole thing canned, ready to go.
Ooh, I love that. I hope that explodes, and this country needs that because Fox News is really doing a disservice to all of society, and I hope they're held liable one day. And as a side note, and then I'll get off, Hegseth's rant yesterday, fog of war. I was yelling at my TV completely, and maybe you've touched on this. I tuned into you just a little bit ago. Completely the wrong term. Doesn't know what it means. I've heard some military people get on and they're explaining to everybody what it actually means, and it didn't mean what he thought it meant. So anyway,
he thought he described the fog of war as the smoke The smoke from the boats that he blew up. He considers that the fog of war, but as we know, that's not true. Yeah. Thanks for jumping in today, friend. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Bye-bye.
You got it. He's right. I mean, it's just this weird thing, man. It's just he's right about that. The whole thing comes down to education. Media literacy. Fuck yeah. Sign me up. The whole curriculum built around it. Robert, how are you today?
Hey, pretty good, Steve. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I got a couple of points I want to bring up to you. Retired military. Now, if they're talking about calling Kelly back to active duty, I would want for every single general, every single colonel retired in the military to come up and say the same things that he said and see if they will recall all of us to active duty. It's a ridiculous thought.
I agree. I mean, imagine that. Just to bring them back to active duty so they can court-martial them? I mean, it's just nonsense. This is what happens. I mean, think about what we learned from this, and I'm glad you brought that up because we learned the righteous six. That's what we'll call them. They come out with this statement a couple weeks ago about how you have to. It is your duty to disobey an unlawful order. They obviously had intelligence. They knew what was going on. They're going to get they're privy to information that we're not. They get it first. So they knew what happened in the Caribbean. So they said, listen, we got to remind folks that if you're out there and you are receiving an unlawful order, it is your duty to disobey it. That's what they did. That's exactly what they did. Yes.
Steve, in basic training, that's one of the first courses that they teach you is the UCMJ. And also, if you recall, a lot of this came about from Vietnam when that one officer, I can't remember the exact village, slaughtered all those innocent civilians in the village, and they brought about these charges against them at that time, where you cannot say I was just following orders when you know that something is unlawful.
Exactly. I mean, it goes back to Nuremberg. You can't just follow orders. Unlawful orders. It's no longer a defense. I appreciate you, friend. Thanks for jumping in today.
One more thing, Steve. Hold on.
Yeah,
my wife made a point to me this morning, and I thought it was such a strong statement. She said, if these Republicans do not do something about this, at this point they're irredeemable, and I think that they are irredeemable.
Totally agree. I mean, it's going to require people to vote them out. I completely agree with you, sir. Thank you for being here, friend. I appreciate that. All right.
Thanks for your show, man. Thank you.
It's my pleasure, friend. Thank you very much. As he said that, just as a reminder, I played this sound earlier. This is Pete Hegseth in 2016.
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
He fucking loves the word ethos, doesn't he? He sort of gets off on it. Is that his, I wonder if that's his safe word.
I ain't never been a kid before. Okay. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing well. I was talking to Bubba. Quick question. Not quick question. Yes. I want to expound on something. I have a question and expound. The gentleman right before me, he was talking about the My Lai massacre in 1968 in Vietnam, where a commanding officer ordered troops to go into My Lai and another village and unalive everyone. Unalive them all was his command, and they did exactly that, even though when they went to the villages, all they found was women, children, and the elderly. That's it. And so, many of them were charged, court-martialed, but only one was actually convicted, Lieutenant Colley, I believe. And he really didn't serve any time whatsoever. But yeah, their excuse was we were just following orders. But you have a duty to use your discernment, your morality, and to be ethical. And all of them failed to do so. It's estimated on the low end, about 340 something Vietnamese people were killed. And I'm sorry, Steve, unalive.
It's okay.
about
I got you.
a little over 500. So yeah. But with that being said, I wanted to ask you, I heard something this morning. Someone said it on your panel, and I wanted to see if you can recall it. Did a Department of Defense employee say that Hegseth did, in fact, order the second strike? Like before? Mhm.
Somebody mentioned that before about how there's a presser and there was sound on Fox News that Pete went on the record on September the 3rd, so the day after, basically talking about how he knew that the survivors were on the boat and it was still the command to make sure that there were no remnants left. So this is the part. So to your question specifically, Erica, the story has changed so many times.
Yes.
You know, from
Yes.
what initially was fake news, then it was the president supports Hegseth's decision, then it was Pete Hegseth saying I didn't say that, then it was let's throw somebody under the bus. Oh, and by the way, let's throw a black admiral under the bus too while we're at it. So yeah, so that's just part
Well,
of the
the
course.
thing about you're the second person to say something about Admiral Halsey. So Admiral Halsey is the black admiral. All right. And he's the one that resigned. What have they said about him? Because Bradley is a white guy, and Admiral Bradley is the one who gave the command via Hegseth. I don't care what they say, gave the command via Hegseth to order the second strike. So who is Bradley black? And I don't know.
No, he's not.
Okay. So what are they saying about Halsey? I have to figure this out because I have to figure this part out.
Yeah. Halsey basically, I think I actually, let me give you the actual quote, then I have to wrap. But the actual quote is this. Apparently there was a confrontation between the two of them. Secretary of Defense Hegseth called Admiral Alvin Halsey on the carpet to address the admiral's refusal to carry out random fishing boat attacks in the Caribbean. Admiral Halsey expressed concern for civilian casualties. Hegseth pushed back and reminded the admiral of his sworn duty. Admiral Halsey informed Hegseth that he had no intention of carrying out an illegal order after 40 years of service in the Navy. In response to the admiral's stance, Hegseth threatened to strip Halsey of his command. The meeting became heated and quickly adjourned. Less than 15 minutes later, Hegseth received Admiral Alvin Halsey's letter of resignation. In recent days, members of Congress have reached out to Admiral Halsey, requesting him to testify on the events surrounding the resignation. Admiral Halsey has the receipts. Admiral Halsey has agreed to testify.
Wonderful. I talked to my cousin yesterday. I know you have to go because 10 is your end time, so I'll be really quick. I talked to my cousin yesterday who was a lieutenant in the Navy. He did 21 years, 21 or 22 years. He literally joined when he was like 18, and he's already retired. But he worked with Admiral Halsey when he was a one-star admiral and also a captain. And he said that is an honorable man, a man of integrity, a man who does his fact checking. So I have no doubts that Halsey is Holsey, guys, not HAL. It's Holsey. But he's a Morehouse man, which is one of the most prestigious HBCUs for black men. So he's a man of honor. And I honestly believe that he did tell Hegseth, hell no. And was like, I'm not putting my career, my life on the line for this. But with that being said, Steve, I'm going to keep researching because we have the Fun and Facts show today. So I want to make sure that we are definitely bringing all of the facts. So thank you so very much for the info. And I'm going to look it up. And I hope you have a great day, friends.
Before you go, what time is the Fun and Facts show?
Oh, it's 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. After I'm done with some capitalism, I'll swing on by and say hello. I appreciate you, friend. I can fanboy, so just deal with it.
Yes, you can. Okay.
I love you, friend. Talk to you later. All right, bye. See you later.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. I do have to wrap. Great show today. Thanks for the kindness and the support and the generosity. Just remember what we're fighting for, friends, because there's people out in our country who do not give a fuck about their fellow human. I appreciate you guys. We're going to go raid Ash collecting men's tears. Please go tell her we said hello. And I will see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you, mods. You guys are awesome. Thank you, chat. Smartest chat on TikTok. Like I said, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Go to the merch store, Facts HQ or Factsstillmatter site. You can find some really cool stuff there. And we'll see you tomorrow. And as always the case, friends, please go out there and do